It's time for Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. For the next 3 hours, it's high school basketball from across the Mountain State. Live from Marshall University, here's your host, Ryan Epling.
Good evening to you, Joe Linville, Bill Cornwell, and for the third week in a row, Bill, no Ryan Epling. We're going to have to call the local authorities and put an APB out on him.
Well, hopefully he will be here soon. He will be here. He was scheduled to be here. He's doing some other duties, but hopefully he is on his way.
Yeah, he'll be here. The Lady Pioneers is having a big game tonight with Sissonville, and he had the call of that game, and he will be arriving shortly. But, let's talk just briefly about the weather. Last week we had a ton of game cancellations because of weather. Tonight is a totally different story.
Yeah, exactly. We've had a decent week. It's gotten a little cold again this week, at the end of the week here, but tolerable as long as you bundle up. And it was amazing last night walking around in 70-degree weather, shirt sleeves. But we've gotten a break, and let's enjoy it. And certainly we're getting down to the nitty-gritty on the regular season. It's hard to believe, Joe. I mean, think about it. Basically, we started this show 2 months ago because it was the second Friday in December.
Right.
It's the second Friday in February already. So we've been doing it 2 months, and we're getting down to like 1 or 2 games left in most folks' regular season schedule.
I think this is the 10th show of the season,
Yeah.
and we do 15, so we're 5 weeks out to naming state champions.
Well, and next week is going to be a big week because there's a lot of these conference championships coming up for the MSAC Night of Champions and the MSAC placement games as far as AAA. They'll be next weekend.
Yep. Well, Bill, our listeners are here for scores, and let's do that right now. Let's take a look at our Marshall University Sports Journalism BasketballNight.com scoreboard. Bill, take a look at the girls' scores.
Actually, I don't have my scores up, so
Okay.
you're going to have to do that.
All right. I can flip over and take a look at the girls' scores that are up. In girls' games at the end of the first quarter, it is Trinity Christian leading the Clay-Battelle Seabees by a score of 15-9. That's the end of the first quarter. This is a final. It was Moorfield over East Hardy tonight, 56-16. It was the Lady Irish of Notre Dame leading Tigers Valley 47, or the final was 47-34. Well, we talked about this one just a few minutes ago, and Ryan Epling saw a good one. It was the Wayne Pioneers over the Lady Indians of Sissonville by a score of 49-44. It was the Lady Generals of Winfield knocking off Herbert Hoover tonight, 62-50. Buchanan Upshur knocked off Elkins by a score of 60-35. Fairmont over East Fairmont, 49-14. That game is at the half. This is a girls' score. Frankfort knocks off Philip Barber by a score of 81-32. And at the end of the third quarter, it is the Pikeview Panthers leading James Monroe by a score of 53-44. You got scores up?
Actually, I do. I'm doing boys, right?
All right, take a look at the boys' scores.
All right, let's start it off with, first off, final. Actually, this is a halftime score. Frankfort is leading Allegheny, Maryland, 33-22. It is Cameron beating Magnolia tonight, 66-60. Nicholas County, the victor over the Tug Valley Panthers, 85-73. George Washington takes care of Capital. Big-time win for the Patriots, 79-62. It was Chapmanville and Logan, of course, just finished, and Chapmanville gets the win at the Willie Akers Arena, 59-53. End of the third quarter, Oak Hill and Charleston Catholic in a real battle, and it's the Red Devils with a 34-30 lead. Close game there. Halftime score, Spring Mills leading Hedgesville 28-23. Final, Spring Valley beats Huntington tonight up at Huntington High 58-43. It was Woodrow Wilson beating Hurricane 61-51. Battle of top 10 teams in Class AAA. Washington, fourth quarter score, leading Jefferson 43-41. John Marshall defeats St. Clairsville, Ohio 83-71. And the Wayne Pioneers get the win over the Mingo Central Miners. Our good friend Ryan Epling will be happy, 49-44. Just finished in overtime. Morgantown beats Wheeling Park 55-52. Martinsburg Bulldogs keep on rolling. They beat Musselman tonight 64-50. It was Parkersburg Catholic, fourth quarter score, beating Ravenswood 43-34. Parkersburg beats Ripley 69-54. Polka, a halftime score, leading Sissonville 34-23. It was Riverside beating South Charleston 64-60. Bluefield defeats Shady Spring 74-60. And finally, Wyoming East, that is, over West Side 75-58.
And that's a look at your Marshall University Sports Journalism BasketballNight.com scoreboard. And Bill, we got a lot to talk about tonight. A lot going on in the OVAC boys and girls championships going on. And of course, earlier in the week they had the shootout at the Big House down at West Virginia State University there in Institute.
A lot of good games there.
Yeah, but I do want to go to the phone lines right now. And last Saturday night there was an incident after the Big Atlantic Classic in Beckley. The Martinsburg Lady Bulldog team had just left the facility, and I understand getting on the interstate there, they had an accident. The bus overturned, and when I first heard the news, my stomach just fell through my feet, because you never want to hear that.
Yeah, they were getting on 64 eastbound at the what some people call the Beckley bypass,
right?
And had a just very unfortunate incident.
But anyway, the bus overturned, and thank goodness there was no serious injuries. And joining us now is the principal of Martinsburg High School, Trent Sherman. And Trent, thanks for joining us here on Basketball Friday Night. And we're just so thankful that the incident wasn't worse than what it actually was.
Yeah, guys. Hey, thanks for having me on. Yeah, we're very thankful and blessed that it wasn't. Could have been a much worse incident, and it wasn't. Most of our girls got away with just bumps and bruises. We did have one broken arm, but considering what happened, it could have been much worse.
And of course, the community and the outpouring of fans from really across the state and the whole Martinsburg region just reached out to you folks. And what does that mean to a school in a time like that? I mean, it was kind of a crisis mode there till everything kind of settled down and the dust settled, but there was a lot of support there as well.
Yeah, that's big, and our school community really got behind the girls and everybody, and that was big. But it wasn't just within our school community, but it just seemed like the whole state. From the time the accident happened, the governor really stepped in and helped out with getting our parents and student athletes, coaches some lodging. The first responders did a great job. We had a couple managers, two guys that go to Martinsburg that were following the bus, and they jumped in there and helped the girls get out of the bus. All the way to this week, where we've had lots of people in the area reaching out and saying, "Hey, can we buy the girls lunch?" Our counselor's been meeting with them, just talking with them, if they have any concerns or anything they want to talk about. So it's been a real big, real big outreach from everybody within the state and within our community.
Yeah, Trent, I wanted to follow up on that. Of course, school came back in session on Monday. Talk about your student body, the students that were involved with this, how they handled it. I know you had some counselors that were available just in case they were needed.
Yeah, we made counselors available to anyone that needed them, especially the girls that were involved in the accident. And that's the thing. There's a physical aspect to this thing, but when you're dealing with a teenage girl, there's also a mental aspect to it as well. And they start thinking, what if this had happened? What if that had happened? So there has to be folks to take care of the mental side of it as well.
What has been like in school this week though? Otherwise, I mean, is things starting to get back to normal once the things start settling down?
Yeah, things are probably, I'd say, back to normal now. We got here towards the end of the week. The girls got back out on the court last evening, did a little practice, and then they practiced again this evening. But kids in the school were, and young kids especially, are resilient, and they bounce back pretty quickly from things of this nature.
All right, we're talking to Trent Sherman, the principal at Martinsburg High School. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for giving us an update. And we're just so thankful that everyone's okay and will recover fully.
Well, I appreciate that, guys, and I want to say to those folks that really have reached out to us and everyone involved in this thing, we really appreciate it. Just goes to show, what kind of state West Virginia is. Yeah. We really care about people. And it's more than just wins and losses. We care about people, and that's what's important.
Absolutely,
Amen.
And we totally agree with you. And again, we're just so thankful that all your girls and everyone on the bus is okay, and like I said, we'll make a full recovery.
All right, you guys have a good evening.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank
Trent
you, Trent.
Sherman, the principal at Martinsburg High School, and Bill, I tell you what, I couldn't imagine being a parent and getting a phone call that my kid was on a bus that overturned, because you're not there, you don't know what happened.
Yeah, the early reports are that they may have hit some black ice,
okay,
and that the bus basically went out of control. But unfortunately, they were in a spot where it's kind of hilly, and they did a little tumble over the hill. And again, I just can't imagine that. And that it had to be just mentally just affecting these girls for days. But according to Principal Sherman there, it sounds like that they have adapted well, and he's exactly right. West Virginians come together. We are family. We've always talked about this on the show. We are family, and there was just concern from all across the state. We mentioned Governor Justice basically put these folks up at Glade Springs for the night. Right. Let them get it together mentally and physically before they could go home to Martinsburg on Sunday, and they got back in good shape.
All right, let's go right back to the phone lines. And joining us now, who is an official member of the family here on Basketball Friday Night.
He's part of the family now.
Brian Sexton. Brian, good evening, and welcome once again to Basketball Friday Night, even though, you're over the landline tonight instead of in studio.
Well, Joe, Billy, it's good to be with you guys. My shirt that I'm wearing tonight, my Nike Cavaliers basketball hoodie, is not nearly as nice as the black basketball night in West Virginia shirt that I donned last Friday night to be with you two guys. But, man, what a blast that was being with you guys. I so enjoyed it, and I really appreciate you having me.
Yeah, before we went on the air tonight, Bill and I was actually talking and how much we enjoyed, and you just fit right in. I mean, there was no rehearsal or anything. You just slid right in the seat and went right along with us, and we appreciate that. But let's talk a little bit about your basketball team this week. Of course, you had a game there last Saturday, a big game, and followed right on through the week.
Well, I wondered why my ears were burning about 8:30. That when you and Cornwell were talking about me. But yeah, we've had a tough week this week so far. I heard a little bit of the interview you did with the Martinsburg principal, and so thankful, as you guys mentioned, that their girls are okay and everybody's safe and sound. We took one on the chin at Cabell Midland on Saturday, losing to the Knights 71-53, and man, they just ran at us in waves, Joe. And the young man Chandler Schmidt was as advertised. Had a big game against us, and that's good for us to play that kind of team, because I think Cabell Midland's going to do some damage in the tournament on the AAA side of things. And then we followed that back up on Tuesday night. It's funny. Our head coach and a couple of our assistant coaches were caught. They weren't in a wreck, but they were caught in a wreck where the interstate was shut down when they tried to get to Wood County. So our athletic director, Donald Pauly, and myself coached our team on Tuesday night, and we went down at Wood County Christian 63-56. We got down early, and it was senior night there, and I think they had a little extra juice behind them, and we rallied back to take a lead late, but they hit a big three-point shot and hit some free throws to beat us. So we're kind of licking our wounds a little bit, trying to get ready for New Life Christian this Monday, and of course our WVCAT tournament next Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about last week. It's going to be a big time in Summersville next week. I will tell you this, Brian. Talking to Rick Chafin, the coach of the Knights, he was very complimentary of the Patriots, and he talked about the fact how competitive your guys are. Certainly, they had maybe some advantages as far as numbers and talent level, but he was very impressed with the Patriots, and how competitive they were against his Knights the other last Saturday.
Billy, I tell you what, you mentioned it. I went back and listened to the show that we did last week, and you mentioned how Coach Chafin is a stickler for defense, and we saw that up close and personal. You know, they really made a conscious effort to shut Isaac Massey down and held him to 16 points in that game. And again, I think the Knights are going to be a formidable foe. But again, Billy, it was a great opportunity for us to measure ourselves against a good AAA team. And we've had those measurement games this year. Some games we've played a little bit better, a team against a team like Sheldon Clark out of Kentucky. In some games we didn't play so well, and the Knights forced us into a lot of turnovers where they killed us on the boards. They out-rebounded us 47-26 in that game. And again, that's a good measuring stick because in my mind, we won't play a team as talented as Cabell Midland in our WVCAT tournament. The Knights are a very talented team. I'm telling you, I think those guys are going to go a long way.
Well, Brian, we're up against our first break. Thanks for joining us again tonight. We look forward to hearing from you again next Friday night.
Well, keep a seat warm for me. I'd love to come back in there and join in the in the show and the post game festivities.
Before the season season is over, we'll make it happen. How's that?
That sounds good, Joe. You guys take it easy, and we'll talk to you next Friday night from beautiful Summersville, West Virginia.
All right, and the home of the WVAC tournament next week there at the Nicholas County Armory.
Yep. Thanks, guys. I appreciate a few minutes.
Yes, sir. Brian Sexton, PAA broadcaster for Calvary Baptist, who was on the show with us last week. Well, we're up against our first break here on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. On deck, Eric Little of WVVV and Morgan Sherwood, student broadcaster from Hedgesville. So more to come here on Basketball Friday Night on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
For scores online, all of them in West Virginia, visit basketballnight.com. Marshall University Sports Journalism major offers students the opportunity to develop skills in the exciting areas of print, public relations, or broadcasting. Our curriculum features terrific skill-based courses and prioritizes hands-on experiences that not only expose the students' work to the public, but also to sports journalism professionals who are often willing to provide crucial feedback. Marshall sports journalism majors cover our 15 varsity teams in any media format, including text, online, photo, radio, or video. Hands-on real-life experiences come through Marshall's student-powered media, the Parthenon, WMUL Radio, and MUTV, as well as communications campaigns and off-campus internships. The Marshall University School of Journalism and Mass Communications is ready and eager to help you start your sports journalism career. Learn more at marshall.edu/SOJMC. Welcome to the show. This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. We appreciate you being part of the show. Don't forget to join us online. Vote in this week's poll. You've got till 11:45 tonight. Last week, 75% of you voted that the number of fouls before a high school player is disqualified should be increased from 5 to 6. This week's question: should there be flagrant fouls in high school basketball? Give us a yes or no. Go to basketballnight.com to vote in this week's poll. You'll see the poll on the right-hand side of the page. Again, you've got till 11:45 tonight. And, of course, we'll share the voting results with you then. Join us on Twitter @hoops_roundup.
Celebrating high school basketball around the Mountain State. You're listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to your hosts, Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. 9:19 here on a Friday night, and basketball, high school basketball, I should say, across the Mountain State is in full swing tonight after the weather issues we had last week, and a lot of the games were canceled or postponed, but things are hopping tonight. Let's go right back to the phone lines and join Eric Little of WVVV. Had the call of the Parkersburg South Ripley's boys basketball game. Good evening, Eric.
Hey, good evening. How are you this evening? Glad to be with you once again.
Hey, we're doing great.
It's 69-54 Parkersburg South win. Means they're doing great as well. Broke up a 6-game winning streak. So it's always a good night when you break a winning streak or you break a losing streak, excuse me. And it's interesting is Mike Fallon, I learned this after the game and did not say it on the broadcast. He had some socks on. I think they were the only ones that he found in the locker room. They had like a school bus and some kind of a funky design. And so he says he's going to have to wear those every game now because, you don't mess with a winning streak, according to the movie Bull Durham. That's one thing I learned there that you can cross over.
But Eric's been a busy week for you guys. Played in that little general shootout and had a couple of toughies. You lose to Capital on Monday, then Wednesday you got a hold of a very good Hurricane team. So no doubt they're very happy to get on the winning side tonight.
Yeah, Parkersburg South was in both of those games. An overtime loss to Hurricane. South's 0-2 in overtime this year, by the way. They're 1-6 in games decided by 5 points or less. So it seems like a lot of times that's the difference between the team that's got a winning record and a losing record, is the teams with the winning records have found a way to get those close wins and get the wins in those close games. Unfortunately for South, they've not figured out how to do that yet this year. But one of the things that Mike Fallon really told me in the postgame tonight that stuck out, they lost by 20 against George Washington last Friday in the game. They really weren't in even to that extent. But he said he saw a much more focused team the following night. They played Logan, Ohio, who was the 10th-ranked team in Ohio Division I at the time. And they were in that game in the final minute and lost by 6 when Logan scored the final 6 points of the game. And like you said, a couple toughies at the Little General Stores shoot out the big house. And then tonight, Malachi Sylvia responds with 22 points. South had 4 different scores in double figures. And the Patriots took it to a Ripley team in the big sectional game that Mike Fallon emphasized because you got sectional seeding on the line. So now PHS and South have identical 2-1 records in the section. Ripley is 0-2 in the section. So if you're South, you're looking to rack up some wins before that final vote comes in.
And what's up next for Park South?
They don't have a lot of rematches this year, but a rare occasion where they do is Tuesday. The Patriots are going to go back into Ohio and take on Warren, Ohio. Not too far away. It's a very short trip. The Patriots defeated Warren on South's home floor at the beginning of what the stretch has been. Tonight capped the stretch where South played 11 games in 22 days, starting with that Warren game on January 18th. The Patriots went 4-7 in that stretch, and 4 of their losses of those 7 were by single digits.
And look at
I said on the air at the beginning of that stretch, I said we're going to know a lot about this team after this stretch of basketball. And then tonight I came on and I said, really, the results were kind of inconclusive because they had their worst loss of the year by margin in there, but they played some really close games and they've been close to getting over the hump, and they may slowly be figuring it out.
Another Ohio game next week. Next Saturday, big trip up to Columbus, take on Dublin Kaufman High School. So it's all Ohio next week for the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing some left lane driving in honor of that. And Kaufman is 15-0. Thank you for that, by the way. Kaufman's 15-0, and they're number 2 in Ohio Division I. So it's a competitive schedule the South's playing, and that'll be a fun one Saturday night. That's going to be by far the best team they've played all year long, by far. And I'm interested to see how South stacks up with that. And one of those games that if they play it in the end of December, beginning of January, it's probably not the result you want. And at least the way they're playing now and the way they've got things going now, especially if they can get a good effort on Tuesday, they might have a good shot to go do something big on Saturday.
Eric, it's always a pleasure, and we look forward to talking to you again next week.
We're looking forward to it as well. You guys take care, and tell Ryan Epling we miss him.
All right, we will do that. Eric Little of WVVV in Parkersburg, who follows the Parkersburg South teams across in high school basketball, football, whatever sport they may be playing. We'll continue right on with the phone lines. Joining us now is Morgan Sherwood. He's a student broadcaster with the Eagle News Network, and you had the call of the Hedgesville Spring Mills game. Good morning, or good evening, and welcome to Basketball Friday Night.
Hi, that was a good game tonight.
All right, well, tell us about it.
So the first quarter actually ended up in 14-14 tied for the Spring Mills Cardinals and Hedgesville Eagles, which was definitely not something that they were expecting coming off of our loss against the Cardinals last time we played them. But it was definitely a tough game once again, and it was super impressive to watch the Eagles battle with the Cardinals back and forth to end up beating them by 1 point tonight, 56-55, with the last 5 seconds of the game. It was a very intense game.
How tough is it to call a game like it? I'm sure there was a good crowd on hand and all the excitement from the fans. Do you find yourself having trouble keeping your concentration?
Not really. Whenever we do live stream, we normally have our headsets on, so we can't really hear anything other than ourselves talking, which helps a lot. Except we weren't able to live stream tonight because my other people I do my live stream with, Emma Schwartzmiller and Jesse Kane, weren't in town, so it was just me tonight, so we decided not to do the live stream. But I still ended up going to the game, and it was definitely worth going because it was just such an amazing game.
All right. We appreciate the update, and we look forward to having you back on the show as the season rolls on.
Alrighty, I look forward to being on here. Thank you.
All right. Morgan Sherwood, student broadcaster, had the call tonight of the Hedgesville Spring Mills game, and the phone lines are stacking up, so we'll just keep rolling right along. And a lady that's no stranger to our show, the head coach of the Van Lady Bulldogs, if I can get the technical part of it to connect up here. There we are. Stephanie LaFouch, head coach of the Lady Bulldogs at Van High School. Good evening. And your team just keeps rolling right along.
Good evening, good fellas. We're doing all right, I guess.
Yeah, we're doing good. The weather's kind of settled down here for a couple of days, and we're getting a lot of basketball games in.
We are for sure. It's been a pretty good basketball season, actually. We haven't had to reschedule too much, so.
All right, let's talk about the Lady Bulldogs. You guys are playing some pretty good basketball this season, and over the last week you've had a couple tough games, but you're surviving and you keep plugging along.
We do indeed. We went up to the HIT tournament championship game last Saturday, and we actually went into the game. We lost the starter to a knee injury, Kinsley White. So, we went in with some apprehension. We had some girls that stepped up and filled her shoes pretty good. And we got into just a little bit of foul trouble, not too much. So we managed to make it to the end. It was a really exciting game. We won by 2, I think. We had our starting center, Haley Cook, the week before or 2 weeks before, had a dislocated finger. So she was still a little bit sore for her. So we're beat up a little bit, and when you're only 10 off the bench, injuries kind of are not something you want to deal with at the end of the year. But we're plugging right along.
Exactly. You just kind of, as a coach, you just got to make the best decisions you can in those situations, and keep moving forward. Keep the confidence level of the rest of the team up, and just keep continuing to play your style of basketball.
Yeah, we had we just hosted a home game to Wahama. I'm still here actually. And they're a pretty solid basketball team. So we took one on the chin without Kinsley this evening. It was senior night for us, and those are always emotional. So it is what it is. We head to county rival Sherman on Monday. So we know how those games go. From being from over here, they could go either way, no matter what the school records are. So we look for that to be a pretty physical matchup on Monday.
Yeah, the Lady Bulldogs got knocked off tonight by Wahama by a score of 60-46. How tough is it? You're talking about the senior night being emotional. Sometimes it gets emotional for people like me that broadcast and do the PA, because you get to know these kids so well. You're with them throughout the week and then on game nights and so forth. And coaches are, you guys are are a lot closer to these players than we are.
Well, it's emotional for all of us. The girls, they of course were playing fairly emotional tonight. I'm of course, attached to all of them. They go to school with my daughter, so they've been around me, for several years. So to see them go and move on, we lost a couple last year that were, near and dear to my heart. So when they get older and move on, it does make it a little bit difficult for everybody. But, ultimately you hope that you've, nobody's going to remember your basketball score probably, but if you instill some life skills and some lessons of work ethic and discipline, you've done your job as a coach, I guess.
All right. Looking at the schedule, you've got a couple games left. You go on the road Monday night to Sherman, and then you go on the road, Thursday night to Lincoln County. Preview those games for us.
The Sherman game, like I said, is always a physical game. They, of course, have Deja over there. She's strong underneath. She's going to hurt you underneath, and Caroline Nelson out on the point, she can handle the ball well. So they have a couple weapons inside and out. You just never know what to prepare for them. Now Lincoln County, on the other hand, they're a fast-paced team. They've got shooters everywhere. So their arsenal is. Their arsenal's pretty thick, so I should have MRI results on Kinsley next week, and we'll know the extent of her injury. Hopefully, she'll be back with us towards the end of the season. And if something happens and she's not able to come back, we've got some freshmen that have stepped in and scored a few points a game. They still have a lot to learn, and I tell them sometimes they're the dumbest smart kids I've ever seen, because they're all 4-point-plus kids. But to run a play, I have to worry about them sometimes, and they laugh at me. But, we've got a lot of growing to do. We've got a lot of youth. We had 4 seniors tonight. 2 of them are starters. So, next year, though, coming from 8th grade, I should have 10 players coming up from the middle school. So I've looked for our team to grow pretty big, pretty much next year.
All right. Stephanie Fouch, the head coach of the Lady Bulldogs at Van High. I know you got a couple games left, and then tournament time's here. We're up against a break. We got to go. But once again, thanks for joining us on Basketball Friday Night.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Stephanie Fouch, head coach of the Van Bulldogs ladies basketball team. We're up against a break. We'll be back with more. On deck, Rob Williams, head coach of the Princeton Boys Tigers. Much more here on Basketball Friday Night on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
If you love basketball, then there's only one place to be on Friday nights after the game. It's Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. R.J. Klein, Sherman Tide, Jesse Muncie, Tulsa Rebels, Anna Hamilton, Nicholas County Grizzlies, Jordan Kish, Chapmanville Tigers, Madison Blankenship, Riverview Raiders, Marley Washingtonites, Fairmont Senior Polar Bears, Taylor Dunford from the Montcalm Generals. Tonight you're going to meet someone from the Webster County Highlanders. They will join our Standout Athletes of the Week. They all have in common is they were selected by Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia as the Standout Athlete of the Week. And if you have someone remarkable on your team or an athlete that made an outstanding play, you can nominate your team's players to become the Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week. Each week, we consider nominees based on leadership, performance on the court, academic performance, involvement in the community, and volunteer work. Every Friday night, we select a Standout Athlete of the Week. Head over to our website, basketballnight.com, and click on the Standout Athlete of the Week tab. Fill out the nomination form. We'll take it from there. We want you to nominate your team's athletes. Welcome to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget about our online poll. Vote in this week's poll. You've got until 11:45 tonight. This week's question: should there be flagrant fouls in high school basketball? Give us a yes or no. Go to basketballnight.com to vote in this week's poll, and you'll see the poll question on the right-hand side of the page. Follow us on Twitter at @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. And a shout out to Isaac Dingus and Shane Hiley, new followers on Twitter at @hoops_roundup.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
9:35 here on Friday night, covering high school sports or high school basketball across the state of West Virginia. Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling is actually back in the house after a long absence. Ryan, great to see you, my friend.
Hey, it's nice to be back. I found my way back in. Key still works. That's all positive. It's been a while, guys. It's been a wild couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, I had a migraine when I woke up to do the show, so that was not good. And, I had to battle the flu last week, which is something that everyone has. Yes,
that's not good either.
No, that's bad. I did have my flu shot back in November, but so it wasn't as bad.
Okay.
But it was still just no energy, body aches, and just general fatigue. Fun times. So I spent the last weekend sleeping through most of everything as much as I could, and kind of geared back up, ready to go now. Stretch run.
Absolutely.
I mean,
you're full of energy and raring to go.
I am.
Well, it is stretch run. We just had Stephanie LaFouche from Van, and you look at their schedule. They got 2 games next week, and they're done with their regular season. I mean, it is stretch run, especially for the girls in the state.
Right.
Boys have a couple weeks left.
Yeah, the girls, really the seeding, we're right down to the point of the season. I believe it's next week when the seeding voting takes place.
Right.
So, we're almost to the postseason, guys. What happened?
Yeah, we're in show 10 of 15, so we're rolling right along.
That's right, and we've got a lot to talk about. And right now, first I do want to say thank you to all those who have reached out to me over the past 2 weeks. I appreciate it. I missed y'all too.
All right.
And I do want to mention too that I heard you talk with the principal at Martinsburg, and I do know last week several people from our basketball night family that,
right.
When I say our family, I mean literally the people who call in, people who listen, reached out to try to get information. I was trying to help guide them to the right people who would have better information. But really it was an outpouring of support from all over the state, and that was very impressive but not surprising.
Right.
Because West Virginia will take care of our own because no one else will.
That's exactly that's true.
That's how it is. So back here, happy to be back. Happy to be talking high school basketball. Let's go back to the phone line, see if I remember how to do this. Rob Williams is the head coach of the Princeton Tigers. The boys team at Princeton has lost 2 games in a row, but still 11-6 on the season, a fantastic season to this point. Coach Williams, welcome to Basketball Friday Night.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
I hate it that we're talking to you this week versus a week ago, because this time a week ago, you were on a winning streak. That included a win over South Charleston in the Big Atlantic Classic, losing, though, last Saturday to Woodrow Wilson 63-62, and then a loss to Radford, Virginia. But just tell me a little bit about how, in your opinion, this season has gone. I mean, 11-6, having had a long winning streak, having been 11-4 at one point. Got to be happy with where your team stands right now.
Very happy where we're at. We had a couple losses to Bluefield, which is nothing to be ashamed of. Lost the last 2, but as you said, one point to Woodrow in the Big Atlantic final at Woodrow's home court. So again, not anything to be ashamed of. And if you don't know anything about Radford, they're 23-0, and they knocked off the 4A state champions, who were also undefeated at the time, and they beat Greenbrier East by 40 earlier. So. Those losses, while no one wants losses, and there's really probably no such thing as good losses. I wasn't too disappointed. We were in both those games. Radford, it was tied at the half, and we tend to sleep for about a quarter, unfortunately, in our losses. So we got to figure out how to get 4 quarters straight in some games like that.
Coach, you mentioned it, the Woodrow Wilson game last weekend. You lose by a point, and of course, you mentioned that you were in their house. That's got to be really encouraging for the fact, you're going to have to face these guys to advance Charleston down the road. And, you guys just went toe-to-toe with them in that contest.
Yeah, we fought back. We had, again, one of those quarters where we didn't really play very well. So we showed some tenacity and maturity and played a fourth quarter really good. So we're very confident. We really think we could make a run, and if things fall right, we could be up, in Charleston later in the year. We also realize that, if we don't play a good basketball, we could be out in the sectionals as well.
3 home games coming up this week for Princeton against Buchanan Upshur tomorrow, a game with Greenbrier East, and also with Pikeview next week. Coach Williams, thanks so much for joining us, and wish you and the Tigers best of luck moving forward.
Hey, thanks so much. Appreciate you guys.
All right, that's Rob Williams, head coach of the Princeton Tigers. And let's go right back to the phone lines quickly. Johnny Williamson is the head coach of the Chapmanville Regional girls basketball team. They picked up a 58-40 win at the Logan Fieldhouse last night, Willie Acres Arena. And Coach, in Region 4, where the top teams are separated by so small of a margin from each other, I think your team's playing as well as anybody right now.
Well, thanks you guys for having us on. I think we're playing really well. We played a brutal schedule this year. We played 3 AAA schools. We played a 5A school out of Kentucky and North Laurel. So we've got 5 losses, but only 1 to a AA school, and that was at Wayne, who was in the state tournament last year. So I'm really proud of my girls and where they're at. Cardinal Conference is probably one of the toughest conferences in the state, and right now we're tied in first place with Winfield. So I like where we're at and how we're playing right now. We have 5 seniors. We had 2 girls this week just reach milestones. You don't have too many 1,000-point girl scorers in the state of West Virginia, and we had 2. We got 1 Monday and 1 Tuesday at Sissonville. So pretty good week.
And Madison Webb, a former standout athlete of the week, Kaylee Blair, both going over 1,000 points. That's a fantastic weekend to go along with a big win last night over a sectional rival in Logan. Also, obviously, the county rivalry and everything that goes with that. Also had a big win over Sissonville last week. And coming up for Chapmanville, just 3 games left in the regular season, games at home with Poca and Mingo Central, and a game at Winfield. Coach Johnny Williamson, sorry to cut short. We're right up against the break. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
All right. And, again, Coach Williamson, so happy that he was able to join us. We've got to step aside, though.
But they just had an outstanding week. I mean, with the big win last night, 2 players. That you don't hear that of 2 players on the same team scoring 1,000 career points
within a week. They topped it. That's fantastic. Very happy for them. Congratulations to them. We've got to step aside, take a break. We'll be back with much more of Must Listen Radio. This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
For scores online, all of them in West Virginia, visit basketballnight.com. We're streaming video live from the studios at Marshall University. You can visit basketballnight.com for video, audio, and the Basketball Friday Night scoreboard. High school basketball action in West Virginia is heating up as the teams focus on a trip to the state championship in Charleston. Stay up to date with your local team and its progress all season long with Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia for 3 hours every Friday night from 9 to midnight. Listen online or on great radio stations throughout the Mountain State. You'll hear sports writers, broadcasters, coaches, players, and your calls recapping your team's game. Visit basketballnight.com for more details on how you can become part of the show. Follow us on Twitter at @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Thanks to everyone tonight that's called, sent text, tweets, and emails, and throughout the week, too. We appreciate you being part of the show and helping us cover all high school basketball in West Virginia. Join us on the phone tonight. Share your team's game. Call toll-free 1-855-784-6677, 855-784-6677. Follow us on Twitter at @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. You can text the show at 304-249-4924, 304-249-4924. Go to our website, check out the scoreboard, find out how you can connect with the show tonight at basketballnight.com. Don't forget our poll question. Head over to our website, vote in this week's poll, and a shout out to our newest Twitter followers, including Stephanie Elnis, William Phillips, and Presley. They're all part of the Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia family.
This is high school basketball's home for the Mountain State. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to your hosts, Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
9:45 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, February the 8th, 2019. Show 10 of 15 of this basketball season. It's unbelievable how fast this season has been flying by. Our next guest has two titles that we call him. Most people would just refer to him as the governor of the great state of West Virginia. We call him Coach because he's also the coach of the Greenbrier East girls basketball team. Coach Jim Justice, also the governor of West Virginia, taking time out to join us tonight. Coach, welcome to the program.
Well, guys, thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Several things to talk with you about tonight. First, I want to talk about a situation from a week ago in the Big Atlantic Classic with your girls basketball team, having just been through a very good ball game a week ago, and it was a ball game with Martinsburg that you won 60-55. But it was what happened after that ball game that really kind of stopped many people in the state of West Virginia for just a little bit. Tell me about when you heard about the Martinsburg bus crash and what you were able to do to help those kids and parents and everyone who was involved out.
Well, I mean, what happened was, we finished the game, and it was a tough game. I mean, Martinsburg's got a nice team, and I frankly didn't think we played very well, but they probably think they didn't play very well too, because both teams made a lot of mistakes, and the game was tied with 30 seconds to go, and we just happened to have the ball and ran a decent play and scored and ended up winning the game. But then I left, immediately, and right after the game was over, and I made it home, and I was, just kind of sitting here just probably 30 minutes or 20 minutes after I got home, and Mo Ball, who's like a tournament director, one of the tournament directors, called and said, Coach, we got a really bad situation. The Martinsburg bus just flipped over, and we don't really know what's what. And I started, grabbing clothes and everything else, and getting ready to head back that way. And then they called and said, "There's no way you can get here. It's impossible to get." And I said, "Listen, I can get to the site. I mean, that's all there is to it." And then the word came that that they had everybody out except there was two kids that they had to, or two people that they had to basically cut out of the wreck, and everybody was on the way everywhere. They had airlifted one kid to Charleston, and they felt like one of the coaches. One of the early things was one of the coaches had some critical injuries, and so from that then. All of a sudden, I've got people at two hospitals, and everybody's calling me from the governor's, office and everything else, and all over the state. Manny Arvon is calling me from Berkeley County, and he's the superintendent of schools there, and Manny's a wonderful guy and all that, and and there's just so much dialogue going on back and forth. I'm best serving everybody to be on the phone and kind of be the leader of the band and make sure. So we got the state police to take the coach to Charleston, for the kid that the kid that was airlifted to Charleston, and then we got the Glade Springs people to send 2 of their courtesy buses, one to each one of the hospitals, to pick up kids and then get them in a place, where they could, all the Glade Springs staff stayed, all the kitchen people and everything, stayed way up in the wee hours of the morning, got the kids fed, and the people at Glade Springs did a wonderful job. All of our my personal doctor was at the Appalachian Regional Hospital with these kids and with these families and all that, or the kids, primarily. There was a couple of family members, I think, at Raleigh General, but the long and short of it was, by the grace of God, because the first thing that came to me was from the Raleigh County Sheriff, and Scott Van Meter, and he was talking through Mo Ball, who was on the ground there, and the first words were, from the sheriff, how many are dead? And so it was just that scary and that tragic. I think what's happened is we've got one kid with a shattered elbow, another kid with a hand injury. We've got a few, that are on concussion watches and everything, and some other bumps and bruises. But other than that, everybody's okay. The Martinsburg team called me from Martinsburg from school on Tuesday, and but we're just really blessed by a miracle from God that something, it wasn't really bad. So we're very, very fortunate. We had a lot of people on the scene, Rebecca Blaine, and it just, from our office, and Mo Ball, and Ray Carey, and and my doctor, like I said, and just so many different people. It's just unfair that we, wouldn't be able to name them all, but just so many jumped in and we pulled it off, but we didn't do anything more than facilitate things that the good Lord pulled the kids and everybody not getting really hurt really bad.
Governor, we had Trent Sherman, the principal from Martinsburg, on earlier this hour, and he said that the response from around the state has still been coming to them all week. And, we discussed the fact that this was West Virginia at its finest. And, it kind of shows, and we talk about it on this show a lot, when there's trouble, when there is problems, West Virginians are a family. And boy, we do come together in a time that it's trying. That's for sure.
Well, I've said it 10 million times. I've said it. You couldn't have said it any better. It's just simply that, the people on the outside of this state will never, ever really know how good the people of West Virginia are and how much that we are always on call. I just got through doing a Veterans Visibility Day where 10% of our population are veterans. I mean, for crying out loud, we are always there for everyone. And so none of this surprised me. I mean, any and everybody was, rushing to the scene. Everybody was running to the fire. So it's just, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to be the governor of a bunch of people that are just the best of the best.
Well, and let's talk a little bit about your basketball team. I mean, your girls are 18-1 on the season. Had a couple of very close games here recently, including a very tight win, 46-44 over Woodrow Wilson earlier this week. Again, that 5-point win over Martinsburg, as you mentioned, that game was right down to the wire as well. Your team has been winning close games and winning all of them, basically, to this point.
Well, you're kind in 18-1. We're really 18-2. Yeah. We lost to St. Joe, and we also lost to the team that Max Prepps had ranked number 1 in the state of North Carolina. At least that's what we were told. We lost to them by 2 points in that tournament down at Disney. But a good game. 4 of our starters fouled out. I was pretty wild that game. But really, kids have been playing well. There's several really good teams in the state. Unfortunately, we've got 4 of them in our region, and only 2 of us can go. I think 4 in the top 8 in the state right now. In that we've got South Charleston, GW, us, and Woodrow, and all 4 are quality, good teams. So there's several good teams around, and sometimes it's really tough to win the games on the road, and fortunately we've come out on the long end of the stick on the close ones for the most part. But we've got, we're still a young team, but at the same time, our kids really are playing really great defense, and there's some games that we've got great shooters. Some games they shoot the ball really well, and some games we just don't shoot it very well. We shot, I think we shot 8% on our 3-point attempts against Woodrow, and that's just not what we're supposed to do.
Well, Coach, we have about 2 minutes left here, so I'm going to try to work through this very quickly. First, a little bit of fun. I understand your team has a fashion show coming up this weekend. Did I hear that right?
Well, you did hear it right. we do this every other year, and it's really just a fun night and everything. We have a really nice meal, and it's a really neat thing. The kids have a big time with it, and there's they probably learn a little bit, and they get an opportunity to be real pretty, along with being really good athletes. And so it's a nice night, and it's just one of the other things we do, to try to make this experience the best they can possibly, be for these kids. But Lewisburg was named the coolest small town in the United States, and this is back to Mayberry, and it's a neat night. It really is.
Coach, we are right up against it here. We got 1 minute, and I know this question is a very open-ended question. I apologize for holding it to the end. But obviously with the education reform bill that's been working its way through the legislature, still being amended, that process takes a while. It's not a final bill that's up for vote just yet, but I do know that there have been concerns about how charter schools would fit in. I know you have spoken that as it was originally, you would not sign it. Again, 30 seconds here. I hate to do that to you. That's not enough time to talk about it. I apologize. I'm not going to do that to you. It's too short.
Well, let me just say this. I do believe by the time this bill gets out, everybody, there's so much skepticism and so much worry. I think everybody needs to just relax. It's going to be okay. Everything will be okay here. And we all want education to be better. And let's just say everybody's heart's in the right spot. And I hope to goodness that it's that way. But at the end of the day, everybody knows where I stand, and so we'll just leave it at that.
Governor Justice, thanks so much for joining us.
Good luck the rest of the season as well.
Thanks.
All right, that is Governor Jim Justice, the head coach of the Greenbrier East girls basketball team. We've got to step aside, take a break. Wow, that happened very quickly.
Yeah.
We'll have more Basketball Friday Night, Hour 2, after this on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
For scores online, all of them in West Virginia, visit basketballnight.com. Special thanks tonight to all of our affiliates, including 1360 AM, 97.1 FM, WHJC in Matewan. Also, a big thank you out to 105 KQV, WKQV Cowan, 105.5 FM, and heard in Braxton County on 106.9 FM. 103.7 Jack FM, WQWV in Fisher. The Valley's Watchdog, 1600 AM, WKKX Wheeling, 1370 AM, WVLY Moundsville. Jackson County's home for Southern Gospel. Singing News Radio, 92.5 FM, WTHM LP, Ravenswood Ripley. Knights Radio, 91.5 FM, WRSG in Middleburg. Talk Radio, WRNR, Martinsburg. 740 AM, 106.5 FM. Classic Hits, 106 WHFI Linside, 106.7 FM. 95 The Sports Fox, WBES Charleston, 950 AM. The Voice of the Coalfields, 101.9 FM and 1290 AM, WVOW in Logan. Light Rock, 93R, WRRR, St. Mary's, 93.9 FM. The Ticket, 102.3 FM, WMTD in Hinton. The greatest oldies of all time, 98.5 FM and 101.5 FM. WQAZLP Edmond Beckley. Yap Radio, 101.7 FM, WYAPLP in Clay, 104.5 FM, WASPLP Huntington, 90.7 FM, WFGH Fort Gay, and Marshall University's flagship station, The Cutting Edge, 88.1 FM, WMUL in Huntington. This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
A proud supporter of Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, the Dr. Carter G. Woodson Lyceum honors the father of Black history and proudly serves as a forum for issues of importance to Marshall University in the tri-state area. Please visit www.marshall.edu/Woodson Lyceum. That's all one word, Woodson Lyceum. WOODSONLYCEUM. And follow our tweets for major events during February, including the story behind the new and popular African American Museum in Washington on February 19th. Educators will find information about a summer institute for West Virginia teachers, and students will learn about a summer workshop for them, all at www.marshall.edu/Woodson Lyceum. The Lyceum was founded in 2016 by the Drinko Academy and the School of Journalism and Mass Communications.
Welcome back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. To join tonight's program, call 855-78-HOOPS. That's 855-784-6677. Follow us on Twitter @hoops_roundup for all the scores all the time. And visit basketballnight.com for a comprehensive look at schedules and standings for every team in the state. Stay tuned. Another hour of Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia begins right now.
10:01 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Ryan Epling, Joe Linville, Bill Cornwell back for hour 2 of the program. We're going to do a scoreboard in just a second. Before we do that, Governor Jim Justice taking time out to talk basketball, to talk something that was bigger than the sport last week in terms of the Martinsburg girls bus crash. Again, his team had just played them.
Right.
An hour or so earlier. He coached against those girls. So, it was really something, the way that this state came together in a hurry. And again, not surprising because that's what this state does. And also, not to get lost in the shuffle, his girls' basketball team is really good.
They
18-2 now.
I mean, he's had some good teams in the past, but this may be one of the best teams he's ever coached down there.
He did have a state championship a few years ago. And when they beat Bridgeport in the AAA title game, right before Bridgeport dropped to AA and won the AA title the next year, with Mickey Glenn was the star for Bridgeport then, and Greenbrier East beat them in a championship game. And I still remember also from the next year when Morgantown unseated them, that there was one picture in particular. Greenbrier East had a 6'5" girl that year. And Olivia Seggy, who played at Morgantown, was about 5'5".
Yeah.
Generously, maybe. Yeah. And there's a shot of her taking a little floater up over the 6'5" girl and it going in. Like, that was the epitome of that run for Morgantown. So, that was a tough ball. Greenbrier East could have easily won it all that year, too. They had a team that was the caliber to win it all. And, point being that the governor of West Virginia just took time out to talk with us, and that's just really neat.
And he's a friend of the show, and he's been, matter of fact, he even gave us a little commendation a couple of years ago. He's so supportive of the show, and we appreciate him. And boy, I love the way that he and others responded. And it's like as his job as governor, believe me, on a Saturday night after he's coached a basketball game, he gets home to Lewisburg. He wants to sit down and relax, and he gets that call, the call that we all dread, and he jumps right at it. And it's fortunate in his case that he has the resources where he can call one of his properties, Glade Springs, and say, take care of these people. And that was so generous of him. And the staff is, like he said, the staff stayed overtime to take care of the Martinsburg folks.
And I'll guarantee you, once that staff knew what had happened and why they were being asked to stay, not a second thought, not a question.
No.
jump to service and do it.
Nope.
And
what impressed me was he said, I'm up getting my clothes on. He was wanting to go back to the scene to make sure, to do whatever he could to help those kids. I mean, that's just how passionate he is, not only for West Virginia, but, for high schools, for students that could have possibly, been a very terrible situation, which it was, but he wanted to be there to be hands-on.
And on a Friday night, he called us. Fantastic. Love it. We've got a couple of phone calls that we'll get to in just a moment, and we're talking about two of the best rivalries in West Virginia were played tonight, and I can't wait to talk with both Dave Morrison and James Barker about Westside Wyoming East. To the rest of the state this particular year, maybe not as big of a game as in the past. I guarantee you the people in Wyoming County, they don't care what the records are when those two play.
Exactly.
And, of course, James Barker, WVOW, had the Logan-Chapmanville game at the Logan Fieldhouse. They had a full house there, and I look forward to talking with him about that game at Willie Acres Arena tonight. But first, it's time for a Marshall University School of Sports Journalism. I haven't done this in a while. Let me try this again. A Marshall University Sports Journalism basketballnight.com scoreboard. Just like riding a bike, although I fell the first time. Joe, why don't you do the boys' scores, and we'll have Bill give the girls' scores tonight.
All right, taking a look at boys' games from across the state of West Virginia. It was the West Virginia School of the Deaf falling. Well, actually, they knocked off the New York School for the Deaf by a score of 42-33. That was a ESDAA tournament game played in Rochester, New York. It was Doddridge County falling to East Hardy tonight, 63-47. Frankfort, the Falcons over Allegheny, Maryland, 81-38. This was a close one. It was Cameron knocking off Magnolia tonight by a score of 66-60. Nicholas County goes to 11-5 on the season as they pick up a big win tonight over Tug Valley. The final score in that one was 85-73. George Washington, the Patriots, knocked off Capital 79-62. In that game we're going to talk more about here in just a minute, in front of a packed house on the island at Willie Acres Arena, the Chapmanville Tigers coming in at number 1 knocks off number 3 Logan 59-53. It was Oak Hill over Charleston Catholic 58-52 in another close one. Here's one even tighter than that. Hedgesville knocks off Spring Mills 56-55. It was Spring Valley over Huntington High 58-43. Woodrow Wilson defeats Hurricane 61-51. It was Jefferson, the Cougars, over the Washington Patriots 52-46. John Marshall over St. Clairsville, Ohio tonight by a score of 83-71. Midland Trail, the winners tonight over Richwood 50-44. It was Domingo Central Miners knocking off the Wayne Pioneers by a score of 56-54. Whaling Park falls to Morgantown 55-52. It was Martinsburg over Musselman 64-50. St. Albans continues on a streak as they defeat Parkersburg 63-57. Parkersburg Catholic knocks off Ravenswood tonight 50-43. It was Parkersburg South over the Ripley Vikings 69-54. Pikeview, the Panthers over James Monroe 71-63. It was the Polka Dots over the Sissonville Indians 65-56. The Riverside Warriors picks up a win tonight over South Charleston 64-60. Webster Springs goes to 18-0 with a victory tonight over Roane County 72-62. Bluefield, the Beavers, go to 13-2 on the season with a win over Shady Springs 74-70. Valley Fayette, the Greyhounds over the Sherman Tide tonight 77-54. And that battle we talked about in Wyoming County, it was Wyoming East over Westside 75-58. It was the Harmon Panthers over the 100 Hornets 52. Actually, they're showing that one. Okay, now we're showing a 52-48. That game going to Harmon. And finally, it was the Grafton Bearcats over Berkeley Springs tonight, 64-57.
On the girls' side, Grafton and Berkeley Springs, ironically, played the girls' side. And Grafton gets the win tonight over Berkeley Springs, 67-28. Richwood falls to Mountview, 83-26. Mapletown, Pennsylvania over 100, 55-20. Wahama beats Van 60-46. Surprise here, Huntington St. Joe Irish fall to Hamilton Heights, Tennessee, 60-49.
Hamilton Heights, Tennessee was ranked 16th in the country by Max Preps going into that game.
Exactly. Trinity Christian takes actually end of the first quarter, Trinity Christian over Clay Mattel 15-9. Final Charleston Catholic falls to Valley Fayette 52-44. In the Hardwood Classic, Moorfield over East Hardy 56-16. Tigris Valley beat Clarksburg Notre Dame 52-44. Wayne a winner over Sissonville tonight 49-44. Preston beats Laurel Highlands 72-64. Greenbrier West falling to Midland Trail tonight 55-34. It was Capital over Riverview 46-39. Fairmont Senior over East Fairmont 90-31. Big time score there. Lincoln County gets a win over the Sherman Tide 71-70. Lincoln County was down 18 earlier in that game and came back to get the victory. Montcalm falls to Summers County 59-45. Frankfort over Philip Barber 81-32. James Monroe falls to Pikeview 66-49. Finally, Tucker County beats Petersburg 63-54.
A lot of good games there. I was at that Wayne Sissonville game. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on. A really hard-fought game. It wasn't pretty, but it was very entertaining, and two teams that just duked it out there. They were combined 32-6 going into that game, and you could see why when they took the floor there tonight at Pioneer Gym. Wayne gets the win. But the big game tonight in terms of a rivalry, in terms of sectional seeding, yes, that's still important at this point as well. And in terms of trying to figure out the hierarchy of boys Class AA basketball, was Chapmanville defeating Logan tonight at Willie Acres Arena. James Barker, WVOW, was on the call. And James, the game was important, but before that, what an atmosphere tonight in Logan.
Yeah, absolutely, Ryan. Over 3,000 people in attendance to watch the game. They actually put seating up on the stage. If you've been to the field house, they had chairs that they put up on the stage for people to watch the game there. We had over 1,000 people at one point watching on Facebook Live on the video productions broadcast. So you had an atmosphere at Willie Acres Arena that it harkened back to the days of the 60s when Logan and Williamson would play. It was just an amazing thing to watch. And when Logan came back there in the third quarter, you could kind of feel the ghosts in the field house start to come alive.
We'll talk much more about this game in just a second, but you just touched on something that I was going to bring up. Earlier this week, I came across, thanks to my good buddy Jimmy Morgan, who does stats at Huntington High, on YouTube, and I encourage everyone to look this up. Logan and Williamson, the 1981 sectional championship game, AAA's Region 8 championship game, sectional championship game. Watch that, because that was a Williamson team that only lost one game that year. It was in the state championship game. I'll get to that in a moment. But they were playing Logan in that championship game, in the sectional title game, and it is full. It looks like a major college atmosphere. And that's just something that you don't get. I'm sorry, in today's design gyms, it all looks a little sterile to me. But in that Logan Fieldhouse was rocking. That's where the history is. I encourage everyone to take a look at that. Speedy Bevins had the call of that ball game.
Mark Klein was playing for Williamson. Chris Herbert was playing for Logan. I saw that this week too. Just unbelievable, the names you were hearing in that game.
Yeah, and Mark Klein would eventually go on, now an assistant coach at Marshall, and he helped recruit Jared West, who was at Clarksburg and the son of WVU great Jared West. Also, you had he helped recruit John Elmore, and a player for Princeton who beat that Williamson team in Charleston in the 1981 AAA title game was Mike Eads, who is a major Division I basketball official whose son Anthony was on a pair of title teams at Bluefield earlier in the decade. Wow. It all ties together, folks. That's what I'm getting at. And sorry, James, I had to take a minute there to just kind of bring it all in.
Oh, any time, Ron. I mean, I think when you look back at all those old films and you see the small communities that are here in West Virginia just kind of expand throughout the world here today, and in college basketball and all kinds of places. I think it's interesting to look back at all.
All right, let's talk about that game tonight, Logan and Chapmanville. Good ball game tonight, but let's not get that lost in the shuffle here.
Yeah, Ryan, it really was a good game. Chapmanville came out on fire in the first quarter. He had 5 threes from the outside, and it really looked like they might run away with this game after about the first 12 minutes of the game. Logan hung in, able to keep it close in the halftime. Chapmanville led by 14 at halftime, and then the Wildcats go on a 10-0 run to start the third quarter of play, fueled by David Early and Drew Hatfield. And it was just nip and tuck the rest of the way. Chapmanville never relinquished a 3-point lead throughout, however, as Logan just could not get any closer than 3 points. But when Logan was on that 10-0 run, again, the field house was just amazing to listen to. It was just like old times in Logan. But credit Chapmanville, they were able to hang in there. They took the best punches Logan could throw tonight, and were able to come away with that 6-point victory.
Hey, James, just for your information, at one time there was over 1,500 people watching that video feed. Bill Cornwell and myself were sitting here in the studio. We were right there with you, my friend, and I'm impressed as how you kept Chris Kidd in check tonight. But my question is, what was the difference between this game and the last game other than the atmosphere? I thought the atmosphere was 100 times better tonight because just, you could hear the cheering back and forth between the two teams. But what was the difference in the game?
Well, for Logan to beat Chapmanville, they're going to need some of those other role players to step up in the game if they would play a third time in that third game. I thought when Drew Hatfield got going in the third quarter, that really helped Logan. You could see their offense start to take that extra step to try to beat Chapmanville. And when Drew Hatfield's playing really well, Logan's going to be a very tough team for anybody to beat. It was really that first quarter of play, that first 12 minutes, Chapmanville got up to that big lead, hit some big shots from the outside. The first matchup between Chapmanville and Logan, Chapmanville only shot 3 of 16 from 3. And if you've watched Chapmanville this year, you know that they shoot the 3 pretty well from the outside. Jordan Kish was shooting over 40% heading into that first matchup, and he went 0 for 4 from 3 in that first matchup. He had a couple shots from the outside tonight that helped Chapmanville kind of build that lead in the first half that they would never relinquish.
What a ball game tonight. Chapmanville jumped out to a big lead. Logan came back but could not get over the hump as the Tigers, the reigning state champions, county champions for now, also with a 59-53 win over Logan. James, I know that doing a broadcast of that magnitude will take a lot out of it. You enjoy your Friday night, sir.
Ryan, it's good to hear you. I'm glad you're feeling better and glad you're back. And, Joe, those 1,500 people that listen to Chris and I on the broadcast, if I could only get my wife to listen to me like I listen to the broadcast.
I kind of know the feeling, so.
I have a feeling she doesn't know you just said that either.
I hope not, because I'll be in big trouble.
She's probably listening now.
Someone's going to let her. Right? Someone's going to let her know.
Hey, James, thanks so much.
All right, guys. Thank you. Take care.
That's James Barker, WVOW, had the call of Chapmanville's win tonight at Logan. We got to step aside, take a break. When we come back, Dave Morrison, SuperDaveSports.com, was at another big rivalry game tonight. That's when Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia continues here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
If you love basketball, then there's only one place to be on Friday nights after the game, Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Marshall Sports Journalism graduates learn transferable skills that score competitive careers. Is it time for you to get in the game? Critical thinking, communication, and commitment to accuracy are desired skills in an ever-expanding job market. Sports journalism and sports communications careers are some of the most coveted positions in the country. The Marshall University School of Journalism and Mass Communications is ready and eager to help you start your journey. Learn more by going to marshall.edu/SOJMC. Welcome to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. We're glad you joined us tonight. Follow us on Twitter at @hoops_roundup, at @hoops_roundup. Make sure you tweet us your team scores. Give us your comments on the game. And also, if you got pictures, send them to us, and we'll feature them in our video feed. Send them to us by Twitter at @hoops_roundup, at @hoops_roundup. You can also send them through our Facebook page. You can also email us, scores@basketballnight.com, scores@basketballnight.com. And if you got a score to send us, you can send it by text also. You can text 304-249-4924, 304-249-4924. You can text your scores there. Shout out to some of our latest Twitter followers, including Nick Merritt, Coach Dempsey, Jennifer Farley, and Hunter Adkins. They're all part of the Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia family. Thanks for joining.
Celebrating high school basketball around the Mountain State. You're listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to your hosts, Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
Welcome back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Ryan Epling alongside Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville. Happy to have you here with us tonight. We'll talk with Dave Morrison in just a moment. But first, I want to tell me a little bit about our standout athlete of the week. He is Tyler Gray of Webster County High School, a senior. He's a young man who's played significant minutes throughout his four-year career with the Highlanders. They're having a phenomenal season, a season that is not only worthy of praise, but the type of season that is remembered in a small town or a small community. Yes, Webster County is geographically a little spread out with one school in the county, but so they're having the type of season right now that they'll talk about for years. 18-0 right now are the Highlanders. And for Tyler Gray, this actually kind of runs in the family a bit. He is the second member of his family to be a standout athlete of the week. His brother Dalton Gray was one of our recipients a couple of years ago. Tyler Gray is a leader, a young man who has taken this Highlanders team on his shoulders and helped carry them to a fantastic start for the season. And let's just say when the game is over, the coaching doesn't end. His father is the head coach of the Webster County Highlanders. And it's always interesting how that dynamic works. Some don't talk about the game. Some talk extensively about the games when they're in a home setting, and separating that parent-coach relationship's always fascinating to see how that's done. And earlier this week, our special correspondent, Andrew Rogers, was able to catch up with our standout athlete of the week, Tyler Gray of Webster County.
Since last season's state tournament quarterfinal loss, the single-A Webster County Highlanders are still undefeated this season at 17-0 and are one of two remaining teams without a loss in the state of West Virginia, with AAA Martinsburg being the other team. A reason for the team's success this season has been on the shoulders of point guard Tyler Gray. Tyler's caring heart and his team-first mentality are what makes him this week's standout athlete of the week. Gray averages approximately 16 points per game, along with 5 steals and 5 assists. After a lopsided state quarterfinal game last season, the Highlanders wanted to improve its schedule to show it belonged as one of the elite teams in Class Single-A. The number 3 ranked Highlanders' biggest win of the season was back on January 21st in the MLK Showcase against a Trinity Warriors team that made it to the state semifinals last season. But Gray knew coming into this season it wasn't going to take a total team effort to return to Charleston, where his team wants to finish the season the right way.
And we circled Trinity, and we scouted them well, and we in practice we were like we had to come as a team just to beat them. And now it's just getting back to states just like we did last year, and then showing actually like what we can do instead of just not showing up and not playing our game, and just trying to make it back to the Civic Center. Like I said, we're all family. We're all just brothers on the court, man. It's just awesome playing with all these kids. It's literally just, it's an amazing. It's just like every time you go out there, you know that if you all play together and you all work, it's just like you're going to have fun, you're going to win.
Not only does Gray have fun playing with his teammates, he also enjoys playing for his head coach. Interestingly enough, Gray's father, Michael, is the coach for the Highlanders. Since Tyler began playing basketball in 3rd grade, his father has been his coach throughout. Tyler says he and his father have a solid relationship as player and coach.
It was just awesome playing for Dad. Of course, growing up, he was with me all the way, so kind of like a gym rat growing up, just always late night workouts and stuff like that. But it's hard. I'm not going to say it's not hard, but it's definitely hard. But we kind of son Dad at home and then coach player on the court, so it's not more of a struggle. It's just more of just little stuff and then getting over that and just playing basketball, really.
Father and head coach Michael Gray says he has enjoyed guiding his son throughout the years and that Tyler is having a significant impact on this year's Highlander squad.
It's been a blessing, Coach Tyler. He's a great kid. He does all the right things. He's good for the team. It's just over the years I've been able to coach him since he's been young. So I've been able to follow him up through grade school and middle school and into high school. And it's been a lot of fun coaching him. He's well-rounded, just not in one aspect, but in the whole game. So that's his big contribution to the team is he can do just about anything.
When Gray is not leading the Highlanders on the hardwood, he is heavily involved with a Christian group for teams called Young Life. Tyler's mother, Tisha, says his kindness and concern for others is demonstrated more so through this group.
A kind kid. He's in Young Life. It's a Christian group. They said that he's always the kid that is always reaching out to other kids. If there's a kid by themselves, Tyler's with that kid trying to bring them into the group. That's just the type of kid he is. That's the kind of team player he is, too.
Gray says that he enjoys being involved with Young Life because the group provides him with opportunities outside his circle of friends and teammates.
You get to meet a lot of kids that you don't ever see at school, which is really nice. You get to hear our Young Life leader. We have fun, we sing, we do stuff like that, and at the end of the day, we'll end with he preaches a little bit, and it's just fun meeting all these kids and getting them out of the house.
Gray and the Highlanders will attempt to stay undefeated throughout the remainder of the regular season and then try to clinch another berth in the state tournament in March. For Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, I'm Special Correspondent Andrew Rogers.
Thanks so much, Andrew, and again, congratulations to our Standout Athlete of the Week. Let's go right back to the phones right now. Dave Morrison, sports journalist, SuperDaveSports.com. Yeah, the Wyoming East-West Side boys game. The triumphant return of Super Dave. Dave Morrison, good to have you back on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. I say that because I'm the one who's been off the show, not you.
Well, I was going to say, who's the new guy? Who's the new guy on here?
I'm afraid Bo may have given me a 2-week suspension or something for teeing me up here. Resident referee, you can't trust those guys.
Well, we did have an ejection in my game tonight of a fan during the JV game.
I was going to say it wasn't you. I hope.
No, it wasn't me. I stayed near the door.
Well, they don't take long to get into it, do they? JV game?
JV game. Nobody actually got thrown out during the varsity game, and actually it turned out to be not really a close game after the second quarter. Wyoming East used their defense, something that Derek Brooks stresses. I guess all coaches stress defense. They really take some pride in it there at Wyoming East. I think they were able to use some turnovers, space out that lead a little bit. I think it was 20-10 advantage Wyoming East there in the second quarter. Then in the third quarter, and something I have honed in on because you don't see this very often. R.J. Hood, who formerly went to Westside, had 4 3-pointers in the third quarter, had an opportunity for 2 4-point plays. 4-point play, you might see 4 or 5 of those a year. He had the opportunity for 2 in the third, did make one of those 4 3-pointers, and that really kind of put the game out of reach for a very young, inexperienced Westside team. Got some good experience tonight, obviously, playing before yet another standing room only crowd. I know the Logan Chapmanville is probably in the rankings is a little more important at the moment if you follow the rankings, and you got to think both of those teams have an opportunity to win a state championship. But, of course, in Wyoming County, there was no other game. I don't even think they knew there were other games going on around the state. Everybody was just honed in on this game.
Wyoming East gets the win on the parquet in New Richmond, and
75-58.
Yeah, it's been a nice week for them. And you talk about how records can be deceiving. They blew out St. Albans earlier this week, who has been playing pretty well within the MSAC. I mean, Wyoming East, don't know if I want to draw them in the postseason.
Well, I tell you what, I've been doing this for a long time, and I like to kind of fool around with the seedings. Obviously, the coaches will handle that at the end of the year, and I'm sure that, they don't need my help. But I like to fool around with those seedings. I did it yesterday. I think I went, if I'm not mistaken, Shady Spring, Wyoming East, Oak Hill, and Bluefield. Now, at the beginning of the week, I would have had Bluefield all the way up to number 2. Bluefield struggling a little bit. Lost to James Monroe, lost to Oak Hill last night. Very important game there last night here in the region. Well, tonight they go to Shady Spring, the team that I think has been the most consistent, and they beat Shady Spring by, I think, 14, 74-60, I believe was the fine on that game. I could not rank this region. I think if you look at the other regions, Chapmanville obviously head and shoulders above everyone else. They got the 2 big wins over a very good Logan team. Fairmont probably the tops in their region. Here, you go 1 for 4, and I talked to Sean Jenkins, the Westside coach, and Derek Brooks, the Wyoming East coach. I said, could you guys see this? And without putting a little thought into it, it would be very hard right now for me to sit down. The difference between 1 and 4 is that close, and you're right. Wyoming East playing very good basketball. They've won 4 or 5 now, including a 20-point win over Oak Hill. Now, I was talking about this season. Shady Spring has lost to Bluefield twice. Oak Hill has a win over Bluefield. Wyoming East beat Oak Hill by 20 points in the Big Atlantic, but Oak Hill did win down here by 1 on a last-second steal and lay-in by Andrew Work. So, it's as crazy as I've seen it since Shady, Bluefield, or rather Oak Hill, and Bluefield were ranked 1, 2, and 3 in the state, same section. I think that was probably 10 years ago.
Big games coming up down the stretch. Next week, we've got Wyoming East and Shady Spring. We've got Oak Hill and Wyoming East. I think that's probably just going to muddy the already waters that you can't see through as is in that region because, like you said, I think that's I don't think you can necessarily seed them wrong, and I'm not sure you can seed them right either.
Well, that's exactly it, right? I don't think if you put Wyoming East, a 9 and 10 team at the top, who can really argue with it about what's going on? Can Shady argue about it? Well, they do have 2 wins over Wyoming East, but then they lost to Bluefield twice. Oak Hill has beaten Bluefield. You're right, 1 through 4. I think you're not going to be wrong, but there's three teams that are probably going to say you aren't right.
Always a good time, Dave. Thanks so much for joining us. And again, there's nothing like Wyoming East and Westside. Even, I'm not putting it above any other game, just saying that they're all unique in their own rivalries and how they work out. Thanks so much for joining us. And I know you had a good time tonight, that one.
Okay. Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. That's Dave Morrison, SuperDaveSports.com. Check that out. He got Region 3 on lock down there. And like he said, who knows how you would seed them at this point.
Yeah, well, still got a little bit to play, but I think he's got a pretty good handle on it there as far as his provisional ranking.
Absolutely. It should be a fun time to watch how that plays out, and those seedings will matter. We got to step aside. We've got to take a break. When we come back, we will talk with a professional basketball player who's from West Virginia. Started right here in the Mountain State, worked his way up through a couple of colleges on different levels, is now playing professionally overseas. That's when Basketball Friday Night continues after this on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
There's no better place to be than right here. It's Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Congratulations tonight to Tyler Gray, Webster County Highlanders. Tyler joins R.J. Klein from the Sherman Tide, Jesse Muncie, Tulsa Rebels, Anna Hamilton, Nicholas County Grizzlies, Jordan Kiss, Chapmanville Tigers, Madison Blankenship, Riverview Raiders, and Marley Weishenitz, Fairmont Senior Polar Bears, and Taylor Dunford from the Montcalm Generals. What they all have in common is they were selected by Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia as the standout athlete of the week. Have someone remarkable on your team? Did you have an athlete make an outstanding play? You could nominate your team's players to become the Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week. Each week we consider nominees based on leadership, performance on the court, academic performance, involvement in the community, and volunteer work. Every Friday night, we select a Standout Athlete of the Week. Head over to our website, basketballnight.com, click on the Standout Athlete of the Week tab, fill out the nomination form. We'll take it from there. We want you to nominate your team's athletes. Congratulations again tonight to Tyler Gray from the Webster County Highlanders, the Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia Standout Athlete of the Week. Thanks for joining us tonight. Join us on Twitter, of course, at @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Don't forget to also vote in this week's poll. This week's question, should there be flagrant fouls in high school basketball? Give us a yes or a no. Go to basketballnight.com. You'll see the poll on the right-hand side of the page.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
10:35 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Halfway home. Fastest 3 hours in radio. Ryan Epling alongside Bill Cornwell and Joe Linville. And again, if you want scores, go to basketballnight.com. Follow us on Twitter. Check out @hoops_roundup. Games throughout the night being, getting the scores out to you. Every method that we have. You can also like us on Facebook. We're becoming more active there on that platform as well. So again, Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, always a good time. And Joe, our next athlete is someone I know you know personally. I've been able to kind of follow his career from a distance. We were talking about him off the air, and we'll get him on in just a second. But, Joe, sometimes you have to have a little patience to get where you want to go.
Yeah, I was talking to this young man earlier this week. We had a show premiering the Logan-Champville game, and he stopped by and got to, talk to him, and he was interviewed on the radio. But anyway, he's kind of what we might call a late bloomer. He was talking about, even though he's played on a D1, platform here at Marshall, he was kind of, didn't have that big freshman or big sophomore year. Really didn't start coming along and start getting noticed probably his junior year, and then, of course, had a great senior year and then went on to play college basketball and then, moved on up to where he's at today.
Yeah, started at Fairmont State.
Right.
And, again, proof that you can get where you want to go from anywhere in West Virginia.
You just got to work at it.
He's currently a player for Colossus in Rhodes, Greece. And right now, he's still in West Virginia. He's getting ready to.
I think he's home on a little break, maybe. So
there we go. Stevie Browning joins us now on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Stevie, first off, good to have you tonight.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
First of all, I'm sure you went over to Willie Akers Arena and watched a great basketball game tonight.
Oh, yeah. I don't have much of a voice left. I was screaming the whole time.
Oh, so that's who we heard in the background. Okay. But anyway, Stevie, just talk about your days back at Logan, playing high school basketball, and tell us a little bit about the story there, and then, how things started to develop and when you had the opportunity to go to play some college ball.
Gotcha. Well, like you said earlier, patience was my biggest thing. My freshman and sophomore year, I didn't play at all. I was strictly JV my junior year. But my sophomore year, we won the state championship, and that's one of my favorite years because that was just a blessing and an experience in itself. Even though I wasn't playing as much, but every day I worked and I tried to get better. And my junior year, I kind of came along, but I still had Paul Williamson and Deontay Coleman in front of me, and that was just the way it was. And then my senior year, I kind of got Hatch handed me the ball and let me go, put me in the driver's seat, and I actually signed to go to Fairmont State before my senior year because I wasn't at the time it felt like it was the right move. And, looking back, I wouldn't trade it because, there's things that I learned at Fairmont that stick with me today. And, Fairmont was a great place for me. So I actually started my freshman year at Fairmont. I averaged 9 or 10 points. I was a role player. We had a few good upperclassmen. And we were actually really good that year too. And then my sophomore year, I came in and we started it started to kind of run through me a little bit. And, I had a really good year. And it kind of all fell in, like, I could feel God's hand on the situation when it all fell in place because at the end of my sophomore year was my good year. And that was the year that Dan Toney had first got the coaching job, and he kind of made it known around the state that he was trying to get in-state players. So my dad called me and he was like, "Hey, if you want to try and make that jump, this is probably your best chance to do it." So we prayed about it, we talked about it a lot, and so I got my release and went on a few visits, but ended up obviously going to Marshall. And that was playing there was two of the funnest years I've ever had, just because of the way Dan Toney lets you play, the freedom he gives you as a player, as a scorer. It's the place you want to be, because the first day I got there, Dan Toney said, "Look, I don't care what shot you take. As long as you think you can make it, you can take it." And that's just the whole philosophy that he goes by. I'm sure you guys watch John and CJ play, and they're just playing free out there. And that confidence helped me grow into being a better scorer, better playmaker. And it gave me the opportunity to play on a big enough level to where I could set myself up to play professionally.
Stevie, you were in your Marshall years. I like to call you the king of the alley-oop, because that seemed to be your play, and that you were really great at building the fan base and getting the fan base excited when you would take that big leap and go and get that ball.
I remember the first time it happened. It was the WVU game at the Civic Center, and me and John. Coach Dan had drew up a play in a timeout, and me and John came out, and we had saw how it was Javon Conway. We had saw how Javon was guarded the play before, and he jumped the guy who was rolling pretty hard. So we looked at each other. We were like, "Look, we're gonna go back door, just throw it up," and he did it. And then from that moment on, every time we'd come down the floor, and we'd catch each other's eyes, we'd say WVU. And it'd be a backdoor lob. So. That's what it kind of turned into.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, I think my favorite one that I watched that I saw you pull off was against Middle Tennessee, and it was like an inbounds near half court.
Yeah.
And John threw the alley-oop to you about 35, 40 feet away on an inbounds pass for a dunk. You just don't see that.
Yeah, no, that one was. I say it all the time. I had two of them that were on top 10. The one against West Virginia, and then the one that I reversed at UTSA. But I say all the time, that one, the one in Middle Tennessee, was the toughest one because John was getting pressured out of bounds. It wasn't like he had a clear lane to throw it. He made about a perfect pass from 40, 45 feet. And that was in a big game too. That was in a game that kind of switched our whole season, because we started slow, and then we started to kind of find our niche, find our groove in conference. And then that game was the game that really pushed us over the hump to being a good conference team. And I tell people all the time when they ask me what my favorite one was, I say the one against Middle Tennessee.
That was one of those where I watched it and I said, okay, wow. And then I thought for a second, I was like, wait, what did I just see here? Yeah. That was incredible. We're up against it here, Stevie, but I do want to ask you one more question. You're getting ready to play in Greece. You've played overseas for a couple of years now. How is that from a standpoint of being in a different element?
Oh, man, I tell you, my first year was a year that really tested me because, your first year overseas, you don't have any idea what to expect. And, there's places that you can go that are more Americanized, but I was in Turkey, and where I was at was not Americanized at all. The city had about 700,000 people, and nobody spoke English outside of the team. So even the littlest things from ordering food to reading traffic signs, it all plays a part. And if you let it, it can really stress you out, and it can affect you the way you play. And it's something you just gotta that I found I had to just get my head around the fact that this is the way it is, and I gotta grit through this. And it helped me evolve as a person. It helped me figure out who I am, figure out who I need to be really, in order to be successful, and in order to help my family. And I thank God for the struggles that overseas has given me, because I feel like it really has made me a better person.
Basketball has sure taken Stevie Browning on quite the ride, from Logan to Fairmont State to Marshall and to Turkey, now to Greece, and certainly been a fantastic ride. Stevie, a good follow on Twitter too. You should follow him there. Just look him up, you'll find him. And always great to follow along your career, Stevie. We're very proud of you as a Marshall alum. We're proud of you, and of course as West Virginians, we're proud of what you're doing as well.
I appreciate it very much, guys. I do.
All right, that's Stevie Browning, former Logan Wildcat, currently plays for Rhodes, in Rhodes, Greece, for Colossus, getting ready to head back overseas.
Colossus of Rhodes,
yeah.
Just like the
of course
the world marvel,
a fantastic opportunity for him. We've got to step aside and take a break. When we come back, we'll talk with our standout athlete of the week. We'll also have Bill Nestor, WPDX in Clarksburg. That's when Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia continues here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
For scores online, all of them in West Virginia, visit basketballnight.com. High school basketball action in West Virginia is heating up as the teams focus on a trip to the state championship in Charleston. Stay up to date with your local team and its progress all season long with Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia for 3 hours every Friday night from 9 to midnight. Listen online or on great radio stations throughout the Mountain State. Hear sports writers, broadcasters, coaches, players, and your calls recapping your team's game. Visit basketballnight.com for more details on how you can become part of the show. Follow us on Twitter at @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Thanks to everyone tonight that sent text, tweets, and emails. We appreciate you being part of the show and helping us cover all high school basketball in West Virginia. Join us on the phone tonight. Share your team's game. Send us your picks from your game and your fans. Call toll-free 855-784-6677, 855-784-6677. Follow us on Twitter @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Text the show 304-249-4924. Text the show 304-249-4924. Go to our website, check out the scoreboard, find out how you can connect with the show tonight at basketballnight.com. Don't forget to join us online. Vote in this week's poll. You've got till 11:45 tonight. This week's question: should there be flagrant fouls in high school basketball? Give us a yes or no. Go to basketballnight.com to vote in this week's poll. You'll see the poll on the right-hand side of the page. Again, you've got till 11:45 tonight. This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
This is high school basketball's home for the Mountain State. Basketball Friday night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to your hosts, Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
10:49 on this Basketball Friday night in West Virginia. Ryan Epling, Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville with you. Just to quickly tie this all together, Colossus of Rhodes collapsed in an earthquake in 226 BC. I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of this.
I wasn't either. I wasn't around.
But no, always a good time. You know, we like to be able to, we learn a lot ourselves on this program. We like to be able to kind of share that because there are so many fascinating things and tie it to basketball in some form or fashion. Stevie Browning's story, and we'll get to Tyler Gray, we'll get to Bill Nestor in just a moment. Stevie Browning's story is one that I think that anyone growing up playing high school basketball or not even in high school yet, playing basketball, this is where that sport can take you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like I said a few minutes ago, it just shows you if you work hard enough what you can achieve and what you can attain. I mean, when he was a sophomore at Logan High, I'm sure he never thought that'd be impossible becoming a professional basketball player. But now today, a lot of hard work, many hours in the gym, he's there.
Gets to see the world.
And he exactly, and I think he mentioned how tough it was last year playing in Turkey, but playing in Rhodes, that's more of an area that's used to foreigners and tourists. So I think this is probably a little easier transition for him to there in Rhodes as opposed to playing in Turkey. So hopefully he's a little bit more comfortable this year.
Let's bring on our standout athlete of the week. He is a senior at Webster County High School. The Highlanders are having a phenomenal year, undefeated, 18-0 as they come down the home stretch. Big game coming up this week with Greater Beckley Christian. We'll talk about all of that and more, but joining us now is our standout athlete of the week, Tyler Gray of Webster County. Tyler, welcome to Basketball Friday night in West Virginia.
Hey guys, thank you for having me on tonight.
And congratulations on being our standout athlete of the week. You're not the first person in your family to do this. Your brother had it as well.
Yeah, my brother got it 2 years ago, and just kind of cool to get it and just kind of follow his footsteps.
You're now our first siblings to be standout athletes of the week. And, we want to talk a little bit about making that transition from where you played with your brother on a team. I'm sure that's something that you won't forget on successful teams as well. And now being to where you are the leader of this basketball team. And, of course, as a coach's son, there are a lot of layers to your game and your role with that basketball team.
Yeah, me and my brother were really close growing up. He's up at Linville now. He played college basketball for about a year and a half, and then he decided to focus more on grades. But his high school years, we were in the gym all night, all morning, all stuff like that, just conditioning, working out, just getting in the gym 24/7. And it's just, I think it's really fun just to have a relationship with brother playing and coach/dad playing, just because it's just better playing beside somebody that you see every day.
Hey, Tyler, this is Joe Linville. You guys are having a phenomenal season. I mean, we've kind of talked about it as the season rolls on. We keep expecting you, to get knocked off, but you guys just keep finding ways to win.
Yeah, of course, when you're undefeated, every team has your number. So that's the hardest part. Tonight, early in the season when we played Roan at Roan, it was a 12-point game. We didn't really shoot the best. We didn't really show up. But tonight, I got to hand it to Roan. They came in there to play, and they definitely fought for it. But we came out on top, and it is hard because you go into every next game just thinking, man, this could be it. But Webster and the team that we have there is just totally different. We go into every practice, fix everything we do, work out harder, and just go at each other hard and just make everybody else better.
Webster County, being a county high school, and, Webster County's kind of rural out in central West Virginia. How tough is it on maybe some of your teammates? And I'm not sure if you live, close to in town to the school or whatever, but, travel arrangements and so forth to and from practice when there's not school.
Yeah, we have our whole entire team is kind of scattered everywhere. I live really close to the high school, and then we have kids who live in Hacker Valley, which is an hour away, 45 to an hour away. We have our center, Drew Oakland, who lives up in Urbacon, which is probably about 30, 40 minutes. So, yeah, they get up early to go to school, and after practice, they got a good ride home.
I absolutely know where Hacker Valley is. Actually, I have a lot of family live out that way. So anyway, I'm rooting you guys on as well. But what about the school, the atmosphere around the school? What are some of the extracurricular activities that you're involved with and lead there at Webster County High?
I'm involved with National Honor Society. I got accepted my sophomore year, I'm pretty sure. I'm involved with Fellow Christian Athletes, which is in the school. I'm involved with Young Life, which is a Christian group, which is kind of in with the school. They're kind of in out more. But those are mainly my ones. Young Life's been a really big part of my life, just from having a Young Life leader, Emma Rogers, just come into a small county like Webster and just starting this little Christian group and just booming it and getting kids out. And that's just been kind of one of the big part of my life.
Your dad is the coach. Tell me about how that relationship is, off the floor. When does it become, a difference from where he's your dad and he's your coach?
Dad does a really, really good job, actually, from separating from coach to dad. When he's on the court, he's definitely, to me, I feel like he may grind me a little bit more and get on me a little more, but I'm used to it. Back home, we tease, laugh, just making memories just as we do on the court. So it's not really a big difference, and I think Dad does a really good job from separating those two.
Expect a lot of people to make the trip on Route 20 and then turn on to Highland Drive in Cowan next week when Webster County plays host to Greater Beckley Christian in what should be a phenomenal game. That game set for February 12th. And Tyler Gray, our Standout Athlete of the Week, thanks so much for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck moving forward throughout this season. Your team's still undefeated.
Thank you guys for having me on.
All right, and boy, what a year! I mean, that's really? You're in the midst of something special, and I think sometimes if you stop and pay attention to it, you might not exactly, finish that special season, because this is a team that I think can get to the state tournament. I think can make some noise, but again, they might struggle with a seeding situation because they don't have the background and pedigree.
Right, but it's one of those feel-good stories when a school of this caliber has a season like this.
And Bill, it happens at all levels with the consolidations of today. Sometimes it takes a while for those AAAs to form a singular community bond, but for a small town area and a small area in terms of population, not in terms of geography, you've got kids spread out all over the place.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. They make it work at Webster County.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've talked about it before. Pocahontas County is another situation like that where you have that one county school in a spread out county. The time involved, the wear and tear, travel is crazy. So for them to succeed like this, really impressive.
And certainly wish Tyler Gray and his teammates the best of luck throughout the rest of the season. 2 hours are already in the books in the fastest 3 hours in radio. I feel like I missed almost a half of it. Anyway, Bill Nestor of PDX will be back with us when we come back on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Streaming video live from the studios at Marshall University. Visit basketballnight.com for video, audio, and the Basketball Friday Night scoreboard. Special thanks to all of our affiliates, including WHJC in Matewan. We're also heard on WKQV in Cowan on 105.5 FM and in Braxton County on 106.9 FM, 103.7 Jack FM, WQWE in Fisher, the Valley's Watchdog, 1600 AM WKKX Wheeling, and 1370 AM WVLY Moundsville. Jackson County's home for Southern Gospel, Singing News Radio, 92.5 FM WTHM LP, Ravenswood Ripley. Knights Radio, 91.5 FM WRSG Middleburn. Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg, 740 AM, 106.5 FM. You can also hear us on Classic Hits 106, WHFI Linside 106.7 FM, 95 The Sports Fox, WBES Charleston, 950 AM, voice of the Coalfields, 101.9 FM and 1290 AM. WVOW in Logan, Light Rock 93R, WRRR St. Mary's 93.9 FM. You can also listen in on The Ticket, 102.3 FM, WMTD in Hinton. The greatest oldies of all time, 98.5 FM and 101.5 FM, WQAZLP Edmond Beckley. Tune for You Radio, Yap Radio 101.7 FM, WYAPLP in Clay. We're also on 101.1 FM, WVWPLP in Wayne, 90.7 FM, WFGH Fort Gay, and Marshall University's flagship station, The Cutting Edge, 88.1 FM, WMUL in Huntington.
A proud supporter of Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, the Dr. Carter G. Woodson Lyceum honors the father of Black history and proudly serves as a forum for issues of importance to Marshall University and the tri-state area. Please visit www.marshall.edu/Woodson Lyceum. That's all one word, Woodson Lyceum. WOODSONLYCEUM. And follow our tweets for major events during February, including the story behind the new and popular African American Museum in Washington on February 19th. Educators will find information about a summer institute for West Virginia teachers, and students will learn about a summer workshop for them, all at www.marshall.edu/Woodson Lyceum. The Lyceum was founded in 2016 by the Drinko Academy and the School of Journalism and Mass Communications.
Welcome back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. To join tonight's program, call 855-78-HOOPS. That's 855-784-6677. Follow us on Twitter @Hoops_Roundup for all the scores all the time. And visit basketballnight.com for a comprehensive look at schedules and standings for every team in the state. Stay tuned. Another hour of Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia begins right now.
Hour 3 of Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Ryan Epling, Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville. Happy to have you along with us. Like we say, fastest 3 hours in radio. It really is true. We play this radio game at a breakneck pace sometimes. And then sometimes it's good to just kind of slow down, take your breath. Yeah, catch your breath on everything. If you want scores, go to Hoops, at Hoops_Roundup on Twitter, or go to basketballnight.com to find them all. We'll try to get you another scoreboard update before the evening is over. But right now I want to go back to the phones. Bill Nestor, WPDX in Clarksburg, is the voice of the Robert C. Byrd Eagles. And Bill, Robert C. Byrd having a very good season to this point, coming off of a win over Frankfurt in the Little General Shootout at the Big House at West Virginia State University. And ironically, this is a ball club that has, been maybe a little bit better than perceived this year. Is that safe to say?
It has been. It's been an impressive season so far for Robert C. Byrd. First of all, I wanted to say I'm glad you're feeling better and back on the show. Last week, had a chance to call in, missed you. But then right after the show, had a chance to see a picture on Facebook with Joe and Jerry West. And, of course, guys, I hate to say it, but if I had to pick one of those guys first on my team, I'm going with Joe every time.
I appreciate that, Bill.
Joe's more versatile.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And after we got a chance to talk last week, RCB had a tough game at Fairmont Senior, a game that they had a 12-point lead in the first quarter play on 2 different occasions. And it came down to the wire, and RCB lost a tough one there. Had to flip back around and play again on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. The Little General Shootout there in West Virginia State against a very good Frankfurt team, and pulled out a double-digit win against a very big, strong, physical team. So that win gave RCB's players some confidence, and they'll be going into a 3-game week coming up here at Preston County on Monday. Tuesday, RCB home against East Fairmont. That's a good game, interesting night, because that'll be a throwback night. As some listeners know, Robert C. Byrd is a school made up of a consolidation of Roosevelt Wilson High School and Washington Irving.
So throwback night will be RW night, where all the RW former players and administration will come back. They'll be honored at halftime throughout the game. So it'll be kind of a nice atmosphere. And then on Saturday, a big lockup with Bridgeport, a crosstown rival. That'll have a lot of seating, sectional seating implications. So a lot of things going on this coming week.
Should be a very interesting week indeed for RCB, and again with games against East Fairmont and of course the game against Bridgeport. You really are into the home stretch of where seeding for sectionals starts to come into focus, I should say. I think the way it's done now, every game does matter, but at the same time, when you start to get down the stretch, things get magnified a little bit.
It sure does, Ron. And, RCB and Bridgeport seem to be always locking up for a chance to get that top seed. How important it is, because when of course you're talking about a sectional, it's very, very loaded this year. Lincoln took Bridgeport to overtime the other night. Elkins beat Robert C. Byrd earlier this year, and of course Liberty's a pretty good team as well. So the home court advantage, very pivotal for these teams. And last year, Robert C. Byrd lost in the sectional final, had to go to Braxton County, and got beat up there by a good Eagles team. So you want to get that home game in the regionals, and to get that, the best chance possible is obviously to be hosting. So these games all count, and that's going to be a big week for Robert C. Byrd. So looking forward to it. And, quick story for you guys. You were talking about Stevie Browning. I had a chance to see him when he was in high school, and we went over to Logan. Robert C. Byrd did. First time we had a chance to play there, and Landau Murphy Jr. was there. He was going to toss the ball up right after he won America's Got Talent. He was going to be the special guest referee. When they did the introductions, they put the lights down. Nobody realized what had happened. They had lowered one of the baskets. So when he went out to midcourt to fake the toss, he took the ball, went down the floor, dunked it, took the basketball, and ran out the side door. That's what I remember about Logan and Stevie Browning. One of the great memories I'll ever have. But, yeah, he was a fantastic player. Guys, I knew then he was going to be something special, and it's great to see somebody from the state doing so well.
Landau was actually at the game tonight doing a live feed from up in the upper section, so he's still a big Logan basketball fan. Bill, real quick, I just want to go back to this throwback game. How big is that for the community and RCB High School?
Joe, it's huge because RCB has been looking for an identity. Robert C. Byrd has had some great teams, especially since they went back from AAA to AA. But the key here is that there are a lot of proud people from the past for WI High School and RW High School. They've got to be able to work together, to come together, which is hard because they were rivals for a long, long time. So it's a great opportunity to get the RW people back in, recognize them, to realize they're a part of this school as well. It's not just, RW didn't die and WI didn't die. They've merged together to make Robert C. Byrd. So it's so pivotal for these people to come back, be recognized, and then now move forward and be active and be a part of Robert C. Byrd High School. So it's so important. It's going to be a great night. Last year was Kelly Miller when they had a chance to bring them back, because when you get a chance to get schools involved and get the alumni back in, it's always a great thing because they feel like they're important. They feel like they have a self-worth. They come back, and so for RW to come back and be recognized, all their former players, administration, it's really a big deal.
Bill Nestor, WPDX in Clarksburg. Thanks so much for joining us. Good to talk with you, and we'll talk some Robert C. Byrd hoops next week, I hope.
Guys, as always, thank you so much for letting me be a part of a special program. Have a great rest of the show and a great weekend as well.
Thank you so much. It's Bill Nestor, WPDX in Clarksburg. Let's go right back to the phones. We'll put Craig Dutton on hold for a little bit. He's going to play Iron Man here for a while. Craig, just hang in there with us.
He's going to be playing the role of Bo.
I don't know if I would wish that on anyone, to be honest with you. Right now, let's go to Mike Gray, head coach of Webster County. Both of his sons have been standout athletes of the week for us. At least two of his sons have been standout athletes of the week for us on the program over the past couple of years. And now he joins us. And, Coach, we talked a little bit about separating parenting from coaching, and that's something that can be very tricky. And based upon how your team is playing, based upon talking with your sons the last couple of years, seems like that's something that you take note of and are mentally aware of separating that parental guidance versus that coaching guidance?
Yeah, I mean, you got a great kid like Tyler. It's really easy. He's a great kid and off the court. He does a lot for the community, and he that's young life and a lot of things going on in his life. And he's just a great kid. He's easy to coach, and he's a great kid for our team right now.
18-0, and big games this week. A big one with Greater Beckley Christian coming to town on February 12th. Tell me about what you're looking forward to with that game, and really, I mean, your team's been challenged. I'm not taking away anything from the teams that you've played to this point, but that might be one that has a little more pedigree behind them coming into this ball game.
Yeah, I know Coach Sutton really well. He does a good job with Greater Beckley, and watched them a few games. They're going to be, in my opinion, they're going to be a state tournament team. So, yeah, we're going to have a hands full, but this is another mark we had on our calendar. We've been waiting on this game. We got a lot of fans out right now. I think we had probably 500 or 600 fans out for the game tonight. And, everybody's coming out to watch us, and we got a tough week coming up with Greater Beckley on Tuesday, and it looks like right now we're probably going to face Parkersburg Catholic on the 16th in the LKC Championship. So, yeah, we're going to be tested next week, but that's what we need right now. This is a great team, great bunch of kids. They play well together. They're easy to coach. They like to practice hard. So, it makes it easy on my side.
Well, Coach, I'll say something that probably you wouldn't say, and I'm not putting words in your mouth or anything. You're in the midst of something very special right now. And I think sometimes we don't always realize that until we look back and reflect upon it. But, I mean, you're in the moment. Just tell me about, how things are day to day. I mean, you're living right now what so many people can only dream of in terms of with your family, with your kids playing so well over the, not just this year, but over the years, and now this year with an undefeated team and starting to fill up the gym.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great career for me as a coach because, I've got to take place with my kids. And, when they were younger in middle school, we've won championships in middle school. And, my oldest son, he was a great ball player, about 1,200 points scorer in high school. And he went on and played a little bit of college ball. And, now it's Tyler's come along, and I've had a great time coaching him. And it's just been great. I've been teaching for about 24 years now, and it's just great to be around your kids and enjoy them. And other kids, we have a lot of great kids in this community that respect each other, and it's just a great group of kids to be around.
I did want to touch on that too, because I mean we've talked about the family dynamic, but obviously it's a team effort, and it can be challenging just to get everybody into practice at the same time because of the challenges of geography in Webster County.
Yeah, this group of kids right here, they've been playing together since 3rd or 4th grade, so it hasn't been that hard getting them in the gym. Usually, even on snow days, they'll start texting, hey, we have practice today. They're eager to get in the gym, and when we're allowed, we get in the gym as much as we can. And off season is where they've developed their basketball the last couple of years. It's just going and playing in different states and tournaments and getting better off season. So when the season started, we'd be ready to roll. And this group of kids, I think right now, they're going to turn some heads, I think, here, in the next couple of weeks. I can see it in their eyes this season. We had a pretty good game season against Ryan, and a really good team, shoots the ball really well, but we responded well. And like I said, I think this team can go pretty far.
Mike Gray, head coach of the Webster County boys basketball team, undefeated 18-0. Coach, thanks so much for joining us, and we certainly wish you guys the best of luck.
No, I appreciate you guys, and thanks for having me on.
All right, and always appreciate getting to talk with people who are, like I said, he's in the midst of something special. I don't know if he necessarily has a full grasp on that, but he's got memories that are going to last him a lifetime.
Yeah, by the time the end of the season rolls around, he'll think, wow, It's just that wow factor. And that's, like I said earlier, it's just so cool to see, smaller schools like this having a successful season, especially a school that's normally not in this realm.
And they have been a state tournament caliber team past couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not something that
happens year after year.
I don't think they take it for granted. I think they greatly.
And here's the thing: you've come
understand
this far, guys, and you're 18-0. If you don't get to Charleston, it's going to be a major downer.
Yeah. So thanks for putting pressure on him, Bill.
Yeah.
That's what Bill's here for.
Just making it real.
Hey, he's absolutely right. We're going to go right back to the phones right now. You know what? No. Let's take a break right now. Then we'll when we come back, we'll talk with Howard Meeks, head coach of St. Mary's girls basketball team. They won the hometown invitational. Also, Craig Dutton, WXCR in New Martinsville. How long can he wait? Also, we'll have power ratings coming up a little bit later on in the program as well. That's when Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia continues here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
For scores online, visit basketballnight.com. Does showing up for work at a ballpark or an arena sound good to you? A Marshall University sports journalism degree can get you there. Sports journalism at Marshall is serious and it's big business. Sports media and communications careers are some of the most competitive and marketable worldwide. We'll prepare you to think critically, report accurately, and artfully tell stories on and off the field or court. If this sounds like you, the Marshall School of Journalism is ready and eager to start your journey. Learn more at marshall.edu/SOJMC. Thanks for joining us tonight. This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. We want you to follow us on Twitter at @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. If you're watching our live video stream right now, you see all kinds of pictures. Well, we want you to send pics of your games, your team members, your fans, everything you got. Send it to us. @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. You can send it to us by our Facebook page. You can search for us on Facebook. Also, you can send it to us by email. scores@basketballnight.com. scores@basketballnight.com. Don't forget to join us online. Vote in this week's poll. You've got till 11:45 tonight, so a little bit longer. This week's question: should there be flagrant fouls in high school basketball? Give us a yes or no. Go to basketballnight.com. You'll see the poll on the right-hand side of the page. Shout out to some of our newest Twitter followers tonight: Dylan Goday, Nick Dugan, Garrett Miller, Kim Sennett, Jay Westland, and Nick Carroll.
Celebrating high school basketball around the Mountain State. You're listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to your hosts, Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
It is 11:17 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, February 8th, 2019. Ryan Epling, Joe Linville, Bill Cornwell with you. Let's jump right back to the phones. Howard Meeks is the head coach of the St. Mary's girls basketball team, also vice president of the West Virginia Hometown Invitational Tournament. Coach Meeks, congratulations on your victory.
Well, thanks, guys, again, Ryan, Joe, and Bill, for having me on. I know I was on last week, and Ryan, you're a little under the weather, so I'm glad our prayers were answered, and then you're back at it. And I still miss my buddy Rick. I know he's not on this week, but he was a great host down there. When we played him part of the pool play in I think the second round, they were the 1 seed down in Tulsa. So I know he's still prayers with him and his family. I know that they're going through a loss of a loved one, I think an uncle or something. So just a shout out there, and I can't believe that I actually get on before Craig, my buddy Craig Dutton. Normally he's a great song. He's a great song leader for years at church here up here in St. Mary's, and normally they want to hear him before me. So I know he's probably going to talk a little bit about the Williamstown-Tyler game, finally had a night off and went out and watched. Great young coaches, and Stephen Utter's out there, of course, from St. Mary's, and helped me with my girls program and got into coaching and was at Richwood Girls and out of Webster. Now he's out of Tyler. And, of course, his assistant coach is my son, Trey Meeks, and so I'm awful proud of him. And on the other side, Sarah's assistant coach is, Tyler Satterfield, and him and my son played in the same St. Mary's team that made it to, I think, the Final Four one year, their senior year. So just kind of a good night for basketball and enjoy. So I look forward to hearing what Craig has to say about that, that barn burner tonight.
Yeah, we'll definitely grill him about that here in just a moment. And let's talk a little bit about your basketball team, though. I mean, this is a team that maybe took a little bit of time to find its footing. Of course, a very difficult early season schedule as well. I don't want to take anything away from that, but as of right now, 12-9, but have won. Going back, you won 4 out of 5. So playing good ball as you come down the stretch.
Yeah, I think we won 7 out of 9 or something like that. And so, we want to talk about the Jackal or the Hyde. Of course, I have my senior Addie for I call she's just my little engine that never quits. And she thinks she's 5'6" or 5'7". I tell her she's 5'3". I think she probably is 5'5". But she's always going. And it did. We've had Kylie Wright, my leading scorer last year, the freshman. Rolled her ankle real bad in the first or second quarter of the Magnolia game, so she missed several games. Then I've had flu, and Addie missed a game at Payton City, and Kylie's first game back and probably shouldn't have played. I think we just put her in the lineup because we were missing Addie that night, and we stubbed her toe there, and so I think at that point, you turned our season around. You got to either pick yourself up or whatever. And I just remember having a talk before the Tulsa game. Said, "Girls, it's time to grow up and just play hard." And St. Mary's always known to compete hard, and we'll fix other things, but you got to battle quick. And then when you guys learn how to do that, you'll become. I think they took me a little bit too literally. Maybe I should try those little soft pep talks more often. They went out and just really battled and came out there with a 10-point win, and we just kept it going. Then we had lost the 21 in our St. Mary's High School Invitational. Cameron, came in and won that, and to go from 21 down, to be fortunate enough to battle back and win by 7, in the hometown Invitational Championship, beating the 1 seed and the 2 seed in the process. So it was hard earned, but like I said, it's just something that we'll be able to celebrate sometime when the season's over. But hopefully we're not done winning some key ball games here as we go down the stretch and ready for sections.
Coach, thank goodness you get the weekend off this weekend to get a little rest, because you got what we like to call sometimes that NBA schedule next week, a back-to-back. You got your senior night with Valley Wetzel on Tuesday, and then you go to Parkersburg for a makeup game against Crusaders of Parkersburg Catholic on a Wednesday.
Well, and when we played Saturday, clear over Tigers Valley, we came back with no prep and played Parkersburg Catholic. Hard fought. We had it down to 6, and then made it. Got a little foul trouble, and still, we still got some growth to do, but we kept it respectable, and then turned right around in the LKC. Constellation playoffs, we matched up with Clay County, nice double-A team, and earned the winner here Thursday night. So, senior nights are always tough, and with just having the one key senior, Addie, it makes it even tougher. When it's a bunch of them, I think sometimes it spreads out, and you just go, wow, what a great job getting here. But when it's one, and she means so much to the program, it's going to be tough, but I'm sure the girls will be ready. We got a lot of, we're finally gelling. We got a lot of young girls starting to understand the game, and that's one thing. When you're playing so many young girls, normally you get to play them a lot of JV quarters, and they learn how to get banged and compete. When you're doing it at the varsity level, when we're doing so many of them at the varsity level, it just magnified, because the games mean more. But in reality, it's still just young girls learning basketball, and I'm awful proud of how much they've grown. And I'm starting a freshman point guard, and everybody knows Coach Meeks doesn't normally start a freshman. Even Fick Eisen, who scored over 2,000 points, didn't start till January. But numbers are a little thinner, and you have who you have, and so we've had to put some to fire. And Josie Moore's really stepped up in the last several games and really taking control of the ball, not turning it over, and that's helped get a little bit more movement around when other people don't have to help be out front as wide. And so Kylie's healthy. He started scoring double figures, and Addie's I think scored in the 20s 4 over the last 5 games, and we just figured some things out. And then just like Thursday night, you got a nice sophomore, Livy DeWeese, came in and hit 6 out of 6 at the free throw line, nice the game, late. So we just got a lot of girls developing, and I'm really looking forward to the next few years. But like you said, we got a lineup coming, and we're just going to keep battling and figuring this stuff out.
Howard Meeks, head coach of the St. Mary's girls, also vice president of the West Virginia Hometown Invitational Tournament. Another successful run with that this year. Thanks so much for joining us, Coach.
All right, guys. I'm going to get a shout-out to Van and Clay Battelle that were in the Division II championship. And that was a barn burner, and I think Clay Battelle really battled hard and led the whole way right to the end, and just a couple missed shots, and Van just keep battling into the Van. The nice program down at Van, they won the Division II championship, so we don't want to leave them out. And congratulate all 4 teams that made it to the finals this year. And we just look forward to inviting all the single-A teams that they'll get an email here soon, inviting me into next year's tournament, and just be a part of something that keeps on growing. And again, we want to thank Antero Resources. We know energy has a big part of what's going on in West Virginia. We want to thank them for sponsoring us this year. And I look forward to that partnership to grow. Thank you, guys.
And thank you so much. That's Coach Meeks, Howard Meeks of the St. Mary's girls basketball team. We'll get to Craig Dutton in just a moment. We'll also have Wes McKinney and Bo Anderson. We'll talk with them as well. First, though, before we go to break, it's time for a look at the basketballnight.com power ratings, and over in the Score Center is Marcus Constantino.
Thank you, Ryan. Starting off in girls AAA, a lot of changes in this week's power ratings. In girls AAA, Parkersburg Big Reds take the top spot. They are 20-1 and move up to number 1, while Greenbrier East drops 1 spot into number 2. Wheeling Park remains at number 3, while the Woodrow Wilson Flying Eagles move up 1 spot to number 4, and Martinsburg, the Bulldogs, move up 1 spot into number 5. The girls AA power ratings, North Marion moves up into the top spot. The Lady Huskies are 16-4. Fairmont Senior moves up 1 spot to number 2. Wyoming East, the Lady Warriors drop 2 spots to number 3. The Wayne Pioneers move up a spot to number 4, while the Nicholas County Grizzlies, the Lady Grizzlies, move up 2 spots to round out the AA top 5. Now in girls single A. This is all going to stay the same this week. St. Joe is at number 1, Parkersburg Catholic number 2, Magnolia number 3, Madonna 4th, and Pocahontas County number 5. Now moving on to the boys basketballnight.com power ratings. Starting off in AAA, Martinsburg hangs on to the top spot. The Bulldogs are still undefeated, 18-0. University hangs on to number 2. George Washington moves up over Morgantown to take the number 3 spot. The Patriots are 16-2. The Mohegans are 11-6 on the season. Meanwhile, the Woodrow Wilson Flying Eagles break into the top 5. They move up 3 spots to round out the top 5. In boys AA, the Chapmanville Tigers are a solid number 1 at 16-2. The Fairmont Senior Polar Bears coming in at a close number 2. Logan Wildcats move up 2 spots into number 3. Shady Spring stays at number 4, while the Bluefield Beavers drop 2 to number 5. And in boys single A, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish take over Wheeling Central for number 1. Fighting Irish are 16-2. The Maroon Knights are 13-4. Webster County hangs in at number 3. The Highlanders, of course, still undefeated at 18-0, while Greater Beckley Christian hangs on to number 4, and Parkersburg Catholic moves up 1 spot to break into the top 5. That's your basketballnight.com power ratings. You can see the ratings for all 124 teams over at basketballnight.com.
Thanks so much, Marcus. We've got to step aside and take a break. When we come back, Craig Dutton, WXCR, we might talk to him. Wes McKinney, WAEY in Princeton. Bo Anderson, our resident referee. We're closing on cause time, too.
Wow.
That's all as Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia rolls on here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Every Friday night from 9 to midnight, we're the home for high school basketball in the Mountain State. This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Congratulations to Tyler Gray, Webster County Highlanders. Tyler was selected tonight as the Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week. Have someone remarkable on your team? Did you have an athlete make an outstanding play? You could nominate your team's players to become the Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week. Each week, we consider nominees based on leadership, performance on the court, academic performance, involvement in the community, and volunteer work. Every Friday night, we select a Standout Athlete of the Week. Head over to our website, basketballnight.com, click on the Standout Athlete of the Week tab, fill out the nomination form, we'll take it from there. We want you to nominate your team's athletes. And you got about 15 minutes. You still got time to vote in this week's poll. Should there be flagrant fouls in high school basketball? Give us a yes or no. Go to basketballnight.com. The poll is on the right-hand side of the page. Join us on Twitter, @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Send us all your scores all week long by Twitter, by email, by text, however you can get them to us. You can go to our site, basketballnight.com. There's a form you can fill out there, too, if you have scores. Send us your scores every day from every game, because we follow them all week long, and then we send out a little report at 8 a.m. with all the day's scores. It's called the Daily Hoops Roundup. You can find it all at basketballnight.com. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
11:31 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. If you want scores, go to basketballnight.com, @hoops_roundup on Twitter. Those are the places to get the full scoreboard tonight. We'll talk about that much more in a moment. First, I want to go to Wes McKinney, WAEY in Princeton. So kind to hang in there with us tonight. And Wes, the Princeton Tigers, we talked with a little bit earlier about this basketball team. This is a ball club that has lost its last 2 games, but my goodness, what competition it's played in those games.
Yeah, guys, really, Princeton, I think, has held their own. I didn't actually catch Coach Williams on with you guys earlier, so I hope I don't replicate too much of what he said. But, I mean, you look at Princeton being down 15 going to the fourth quarter against Woodrow Wilson last Saturday night. They come back and, had a chance to tie the game there with about 15, 20 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And then they played a undefeated Radford team at home on Wednesday, and that game was really good for 2 quarters, 8 lead changes, 3 ties with the Bobcats. It looked like a team that can win Class AA in Virginia. Things did fall apart a little bit for Princeton in the third quarter, but I think if you kind of just take away a couple of third quarters these last 2 weeks, Princeton might be feeling a little bit better about itself, heading into tomorrow night's matchup with Buchanan Upshur.
Wes, we talked with Coach Williams, and I asked him, I said, you have to feel good about the way that you competed against Woodrow Wilson last weekend because, obviously if you're going to get to Charleston, it's going to go through Woodrow, a lot of it. And, if they'd had maybe a little bit better start, could have had a little different outcome, but still so competitive against Woodrow, who's been playing great basketball right now.
Yeah, Woodrow Wilson got off to a little bit of a slow start there back in December, but, someone asked me then, I said, guys, until something changes, this section goes through Woodrow Wilson. So you're absolutely right, Bill. Princeton's got to compete with Woodrow to give themselves some confidence. Come the first or second week of March, whenever they'll probably have to go right back to the Raleigh County Armory and try to knock off Woodrow Wilson, unless they want to go on the road to Charleston against the GW or Capital, in perhaps a co-regional final.
I think when it comes to AAA specifically, seeding and being that sectional 1 versus being that sectional 2 may matter the most just from a travel standpoint in that region.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, you're looking at, if you're a 1 seed and, you hold serve on your home court, you got a team that's, going to come probably at least an hour, on the road to your place, in Princeton's case, if they would have to go to Capital or to GW or South Charleston or whoever it may be. I mean, St. Albans is no slouch in that section either. I mean, Princeton's looking at an hour-and-a-half trip regardless of where they might go in the Kanawha Valley. But, I don't want to put, the cart in front of the horse, so to speak, but Princeton's got to make sure they take care of business next week whenever Greenbrier East comes to town to make sure they at least can sew up the 2 seed in this section.
Should be a lot of fun. We're having big games now, not just games that we think are going to play a role in the postseason, but games that we know are going to play a role in the postseason, and that includes that Princeton Greenbrier East game that comes up on February 13th. I believe that is Wednesday, correct? I need a calendar.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That is correct.
I need my days. Yeah. You got to understand. I work overnights. Days of the week just don't matter to me anymore.
They run together.
I don't know what they are anymore. But, Wes, always a pleasure, and look forward to talking next week. I think things will be a little bit more clear when we speak a week from today.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Princeton in the middle of a 4-game homestand here, of course, tomorrow against Buckhannon Upshur, Greenbrier East Wednesday, and then a Pikeview team comes across the county on Thursday night. And obviously, if you want to, have a chance to do special things in March, you got to take care of your home court. So hopefully we're talking about 3 Princeton wins next Friday night.
There you go. That's Wes McKinney, WAEY in Princeton. Let's go back to the phone lines. 36 minutes long enough. I actually considered taking Bo ahead of Craig Dutton tonight.
Oh, no,
but 36
not.
36 was a big number, and Craig has been so kind to hang in there with us, and he had a really good boys basketball game tonight between Tyler Consolidated and Williamstown. That was a game that Williamstown got a 71-65 win, and Craig, thanks for hanging in there with us, and very good ball game tonight.
Yes, it was. I don't mind hanging on any longer. I don't mind.
Don't tell him that.
Long enough. Well, you want me to try to break Bo's record?
Yeah, you'll get the Iron Man award. Go ahead.
Well, I think Bo's driven the whole length of West Virginia before that's happened before. So, no, we had a really good one tonight out, Tyler. The first time we had this matchup, it was Williamstown's second game of the season, and it was also Tyler's third back in December 11th. And Williamstown came away with about a 14-point victory. And it was a very handled victory because early on, Williamstown had as much as a 20-point lead or more in the first half. After one period of play, when Tyler Consolidate came out with a 3-point lead, 18-15 after one period, I thought, okay, now they've got things settled, and they can actually give Williamstown a game, and they did. The Jackets, every time they had an opportunity to get ahead about 5 or 7 points, at one point, the Knights always found a way about 2 or 3 or 4 different occasions where they were able to whittle that score down or even take back the lead. And it even happened until about the fourth quarter. And then a little tempers flared there towards the end of the fourth period. Had both sides related incidents that result in one. Boston Crothers fouled out on a foul that was called on him, then a technical foul call on Tyler West of Tyler Consolidated. That's when everything started to shift. With about a minute and a half left in the game, that's when Tyler got in, and they got the coaches Scott Sorrow and Stephen Nutter together to talk things over, calmed heads a little bit. So Tyler knew coming in they were just going to have to foul to put them at the line. They managed to get back within 3 at one point, but it ended up being a 6-point victory for Williamstown. They just could not keep Trent Lynch off the line, and towards the end he had a lot of key free throws that led to their victory tonight. And also, sophomore Xavier Carruthers, you can never say enough about this guy. Tyler Consolidated had as much as a 5-point lead, I believe, at one point going into that fourth period, and he hit 3 consecutive threes on offense for Williamstown
got them back in the game, and they were able to hold on to that lead for good. And 9 different guys in double digits tonight, 5 for Williamstown, 4 for Tyler Consolidated. Impressive effort by Justin Bowman, just a sophomore for Tyler Consolidated. He had 15 tonight, most of that in that first period, to help get Tyler out on that early lead in this game tonight. So great matchup. That places a lot in the LKC does a lot in the LKC placement for next week. And you couldn't expect much more. That Region 4 proved it's a tough region, but Tyler Consolidated, still late in the season, trying to find its identity, played a tough game tonight.
Craig Dutton, WXCR in New Martinsville. I promise you a lesser wait time next week.
No problem at all. I'm glad you took Coach Howard Meeks. I have a lot of appreciation for him. He actually gave me my public address announcing job when I started that about 10 years ago.
He mentioned something.
I've known you for 10 years. It was a little before then.
He mentioned something about
you
leading
that's what I
the.
was getting ready to say. He helped me get into public address announcing at St. Mary's after I graduated from West Virginia State. So a big appreciation to him, and be able to, take me in years ago. And like he said, it's true. We've known each other from church years back. And great coach, very stand-up, classy guy. And I know the HIT tournament, he really works hard. And so many countless other coaches in the state do a wonderful job with that tournament.
All right, that's Craig Dutton, WXCR. We've got to move right along to our resident referee, who unfortunately
is out of time.
I've got to cut him a little bit short tonight. I'll tell him that in advance. But our resident referee, Bo Anderson, joins us now on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Bo, welcome to the program.
Hey, I found me a new hero, Craig Dutton. He doesn't care. He likes the fact that I could be in front of him, so I want to thank him personally.
Well, I've served my 2-game suspension. I'm back here on the program after getting ejected 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago now. But no, I'm playing. But Bo, real fast, something that I saw this week. It was a game in which sometimes I think a 3-man crew struggles to communicate as well as a 2-man crew does, because you've got an extra person you've got to communicate with. But I was at a ball game where a player picked up their 5th foul. It was reported, the scorer's table reported it back to the official that it was the 5th foul. The official who reported the foul signals over to the bench that it's the 5th foul. And while he's doing that, the ball is put back into play behind him, and there's another foul called. Actually, it was put into play as a free throw. The official who reported the foul and was at the scorer's table turns back around, sees the free throw in the air. Here's what I want to ask you. Can he blow the play dead immediately and say that the free throw doesn't matter if it goes in or not, you'll resume play at the free throw after the substitution is made? Or does he have to let it play out?
You have to let it play out. That's just an error on the fact of communication with officials. But once they put the ball in play, you got to let that play out. If that shot's being taken, just got to go ahead and let that play out, and then hopefully somebody will be paying attention and realize that there's only 2 out of 3 officiating.
It was, and again, like you said, it was just a communication thing. I understand exactly how it happened. That's one of those things where that is the only disadvantage of a 3-man crew, in my opinion.
Well, I've seen stuff happen a long time ago in 2-man too, and 2-man is going backwards, and 3-man, especially with the 3-point line and everything, and some of these gyms are pretty tight. So the 3rd man, trust me, it's a major factor and a major help.
Bo, the situation tonight in the Logan Chapmanville game, was kind of monitoring this as came into the show this evening, and this is one of these deals where, as officials, you guys depend on the scorers to work together, because apparently late in the game there was some confusion on a 5th foul from one of the Logan players. Maybe it was the Chapmanville player, but as always, fans may not understand this. Final call is usually with the home scorer, although you certainly want that home and visiting scorer to work together, and it's very important that the officials work together with those scorers.
Well, absolutely. The only thing that I worry about when I go into the gym is how good the scorekeeper is and the clock keeper is, because they're our only other teammates. When it comes to the three officials, it's really a 5-man crew plus the visitors helping out makes 6. And the home book is the official book, unless it's so designated otherwise by the officials, which I've only had that happen one time. And the fact of the matter was the home book could not make it. Therefore, they had someone that was going to keep it but had never kept it before. And so they told me they wanted the visiting book designated because they knew them and they've been doing it for 30 years, and they preferred them to be the one to do it. So that was really the only time I've ever had to designate the visiting book as the official book. Very reasonable, though, and the coach is very understandable in the fact that he's got somebody that's never even done it, may not know what they're doing. But, the home book is the official book when it comes down to it, and unless, the officials have some knowledge otherwise, they have to go to the home book.
Bo Anderson, our resident referee. We're losing reception there, and we're out of time with Bo, unfortunately. Anyway, we thank him for hanging in there with us, though. Tonight, we'll talk much more with him next week. We've got to step aside, take our final break. When we come back, cause time, poll question time. All of that coming up when Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia wraps up after this break here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
For scores online, all of them in West Virginia, visit basketballnight.com. Special thanks tonight to all of our affiliates, including WKQV Cowan 105.5 FM, and also heard in Braxton County on 106.9 FM. Also want to thank 103.7 Jack FM, WQWV in Fisher, Valley's Watchdog 1600 AM, WKKX Wheeling, 1370 AM, WVLY Moundsville, 1360 AM, 97.1 FM, WHJC in Matewan, Jackson County's home for Southern Gospel, Singing News Radio 92.5 FM, WTHM LP, Ravenswood, Ripley, 90.7 FM, WFGH in Fort Gay, Knights Radio 91.5 FM, WRSG in Middleburn, Classic Hits 106, WHF Islandside 106.7 FM, Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg 740 AM, 106.5 FM. The Voice of the Coalfields, 101.9 FM, 1290 AM, WVOW in Logan. 95, The Sports Fox, WBES Charleston, 950 AM. Light Rock, 93R, WRRR St. Mary's, 93.9 FM. 102.3 FM, WMTD in Hinton. And we're on 98.5 FM, 101.5 FM, WQAZLP Edmond Beckley. We're also on Yap Radio, 101.7 FM, WYAPLP Clay, 104.5 FM, WASPLP Huntington, 101.1 FM, WVWPLP in Wayne, and Marshall University's flagship station, The Cutting Edge, 88.1 FM, WMUL in Huntington. This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Thanks for joining us.
This is high school basketball's home for the Mountain State. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to your hosts, Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
11:47 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia as we wind down on our 10th show of the season. Just 5 more to go. We'll be actually talking about games in the Charleston Coliseum and Convention Center. Remember, that's the name of it now, right? In what, 3 weeks, basically?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're there. Girls tournament. Yeah.
Yeah. It's incredible how fast it's getting there. We'll talk with Rick Kozlowski in just a moment for cause time. But first, let's go back over to the Score Center to Marcus Constantino for our poll question.
Thank you, Ryan. Starting with last week's poll question. Should there be flagrant fouls in high school basketball? 90% of our visitors at basketballnight.com said yes, there should be, while only 10% said no.
Now, for this week's poll question, should coaches continue to seed the sectional tournament? You can go over to basketballnight.com and cast your vote. You've got until 11:45 p.m. next week.
The seeding season is upon us when it comes to coaches over the next couple of weeks, girls and boys coaches. Again, to remind you how that works, coaches take their own team out. They seed the rest of the teams within their region, the entire region, 1 through however many teams there are in that region. And then they throw out the high and low numbers and then come up with the seeding based upon that. So we're just seeing if that's something we want to keep in the hands of the coaches. And before we have cause time, Bill, there's a special moment for a gentleman who's had a very difficult and quite frankly, after a heinous incident.
Yeah.
At Huntington St. Joe, was able to honor him in a gym where he's got a bunch of shots up over the years.
Yes, sir. We're talking about a guy who a lot of folks in western part of West Virginia would know. He did refereed, especially in JV games for many years, and that is Sid Torlone. Sid Torlone, everybody in the Huntington area knows Sid from his ownership of G.D. Ritzy's restaurant here across from Cowboy Huntington Hospital. Really popular guy in Huntington. Of course, unfortunately, about 8-9 months ago, attacked in his own business by an ex-employee and suffered severe injuries. Many people thought that there's no way that Sid would survive. Well, Sid has survived, and he is thriving, and he is coming back. And last Saturday, just first-class thing done by Huntington St. Joe, his alma mater. He was honored. It was kind of Sid Torlone Appreciation Day, and congratulations to Coach Ross Skaggs, assistant coach there at St. Joe, Greg Ferguson, and they put together a good day. I know a lot of the officials from this region came out and honored Sid as well, because he's one of these guys that kind of toiled in the doing the JV games and really didn't look to move on to the varsity that much, but he liked to work those JV games and did it for years and just retired a couple of years ago. Again, he's had a tough time, but recognized by his alma mater, St. Joe, and he's a proud alumnus of that school, but also proud to be a part of that officiating fraternity. If Bo was with us, he'd tell you all about Sid. So so that was just a great honor, and congratulations and thanks to Huntington St. Joe for honoring this first-class guy who's doing well, Sid Torlone.
So quick housekeeping to take care of. I want to congratulate Moorfield's Lindsay Rinker, scored her 1,000th point in Moorfield's victory over Tucker County. She had a game-high 31 in that win. She is only a junior. Want to congratulate Abby Beeman of Frankfort High School, who has gone now over 2,000 points in her high school career, as well as once again I want to congratulate Madison Webb and Kaylee Blair, who you heard 2 weeks ago on this program. Both of them from Chapmanville Regional High School, both going over the 1,000 point mark.
I want to throw in there also Jazz Blankenship from Wyoming East has scored 253-point shots and now has 1,464 career points at Wyoming East.
You put that in a per game situation, and you're looking at almost 3 per game for her career. Fantastic shooter. She is going to continue to play at the next level. I believe at Concord is where she has signed to attend. So right now, we've got all that out of the way. And before we go to cause, I do want to mention I went to the Wayne Sissonville girls basketball game tonight. 2 16-3 teams played each other. Fantastic ball game. Wayne getting a 49-44 victory at Pioneer Gym. Good crowd on hand there tonight. Sarah Hooks 13 points in the win for the Lady Pioneers. Wayne holds Layla Arthur to 9. She's a fantastic player for Sissonville, by the way. And Zoe McCutcheon led the Lady Indians with 11. But Wayne gets the win tonight. Now 17-3. That was a big game for sectional seeding in Region 4, Section 1. Now it is cause time here on Basketball Friday night in West Virginia. I played this song a lot at Wayne baseball games over the past couple of years. Coach Todd Ross, who just stepped down after a good career, 3 state tournament appearances, state runner-up a year ago. Oh yeah, we've got Rick Kozlowski on the line. That's what this is all about. Kaz, welcome to Basketball Friday Night.
I am the guy who all week long has been driving around the Eastern Panhandle with nothing but high beams. I'm blinding people by my light.
That explains a whole lot right there. Yeah. You gotta love car situations.
Well, I took the. In fact, I've taken the car into the shop twice this week, and to one of these things that I can't necessarily fix myself, and so they examined it yesterday. Even though I told them what was wrong with it, and then they said, "Come back tomorrow and we have the parts." So that was today. I come back today, and they go to put it in and discover that whoever they deal with sent them the wrong part. So now I got to wait for Monday. So there's, another 3 nights of me blinding the world with my high beams. I apologize, folks. I really don't want to do it, but hey, how are you guys doing?
Better than you.
Can you even blink your lights at people in like an apologetic blink as you go by? I don't know.
Not the high beams.
No.
Well, I've been trying to avoid the main streets too, so I'm not killing people.
He's
but
going down the back alleys.
it's I feel bad, but I have to drive around at night, so and it's just like, what can you do?
I mean, you're trying. That's all you can do.
Exactly.
Well, no, it is very trying at times.
I mean, I did follow an Ohio car in here tonight that decided to stop at a through green arrow where you can go straight ahead at all times because the light next to it was red. But, I mean, that's a through lane. You go through it, but it was from Ohio.
Yeah,
I understand.
we understand.
And that car was in the left lane, right?
Exactly.
It was in the left lane.
It was. That's how it works around here. So, basketball. Martinsburg gets a win over Musselman tonight. Good win for Martinsburg, a 14-point victory for the Bulldogs. And they just keep rolling right along.
Yeah, and Musselman did not play a bad game, despite a 14-point loss. Basically, the 14-point difference came in the second quarter. Martinsburg got a 9-0 run kind of early, then toward the late part of the quarter, which put them ahead. And then down the stretch of the second quarter, I think it was 7-3 or something. That's where the 14 points came from, because second half the teams both scored 28 points, and so it was fairly even for 3 quarters. But I think Martinsburg had been coming off a 9-day layoff, and maybe I don't think they were a little sluggish, but it just seemed like they had to get their feet under them a little bit early on, and once they were able to do that, I think they got a little bit of distance, and I think the intriguing thing is, okay, so Musselman looked very good today after a 5-game winning streak that came to an end. Hedgesville, tight game with what has become, I think, more of a rival for Spring Mills, and Hedgesville tends to want to see it. So who is the second best team coming out of here? Is it Musselman? Is it Hedgesville? Hedgesville already has a 10-point win over Musselman, but they'll get to play again, and I think that'll what happens in that second game will go a long way to determining who gets the second seed in the section and how that plays out. I think and either Musselman or Hedgesville gets the second seed, the other team gets the third seed. So they're going to be playing each other a third time here coming up pretty soon once the playoffs begin.
Hey, Cos, we got just about a minute left here, but real quickly, I want to get your perspective. We talked to the principal at Martinsburg High and the governor. What was your take as a journalist on the accident and how things were handled, and how the information was related back to the home community?
Wow, it was a little crazy. I'll say I was off that night, and I was getting. I know Ryan sent me a couple of notes, and I appreciate that greatly. And I got a couple notes from some people who were at the tournament, and I kind of went into action trying to get people to get something online, because our newspaper was already gone for the night when we were getting the word, and trying to get information from that far away. We were relying on
kind of other media reports coming in. I know the one TV station did an excellent job, and I had somebody who, kind of a friend, who sent me a picture of the accident scene, but not actually the bus, but just all of the lights of the emergency vehicles. Oh my gosh, it was just an absolute. It was like every emergency vehicle in Raleigh County was on scene.
Rick, I hate to cut this short, but we are out of time, and I want to talk about this more next week. I'm sorry we didn't get to it before. That's Rick Kozlowski, Martinsburg Journal. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Maddie Mace, Parkersburg, also over 1,000 points. Good night, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Tune in next Friday for the latest high school basketball action from across the Mountain State. Visit basketballnight.com for our show archives, the poll question of the week, and the basketballnight.com scoreboard. Until next time, have a great weekend, and thank you for listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. The preceding broadcast was a presentation of the Fast Break Sports Network. Copyright 2019. All rights reserved.